Naruto used the hydrogen style to achieve nuclear peace in the ninja world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251. I got you, little Blackie. According to Kushina's request, Iki and the other two went out, but Kakashi did not go straight to the flower shop. The three came to the door of Kushina's mansion. Under the scorching sun, a full 85 Anbu roots were secretly protecting the Ninetales Jinchuriki who was about to give birth. In public, Kushina is Konoha's Ninetales Jinchuriki. The last princess of this world country has made great contributions to Konoha and is the owner of an entire commercial street. In private, Kushina is the mistress of the three giants of the root, the wife of the captain of Konoha's Anbu, and the niece of the fourth Hokage. The birth of a Jinchuriki will cause the seal to be weakened. This is something that the entire ninja world knows. Keep an eye on him, Yingshu said in a cold voice, and Kakashi showed his eyes on the spot. Use Konan as a bargaining chip to prevent Pain from doing anything rash. Yingshu didn't want to do that. He wanted the bargaining chip. Konan has always been under his surveillance. Now the route is not just the three of them, the three commanders alone. With the growing strength, there are also a ninja battalion of more than 100 people. But this bargaining chip, in Yingshu's view, is not equal to Kushina. He doesn't think that Pain will not choose to continue to be stable because of Konan. But he doesn't want any accidents to happen. With Kakashi here, as long as Pain has any chakra reaction, the three of them can instantly reach Kushina. Now Yingshu is thinking about something. I feel like Master Wife did it on purpose. Iki. She has a bad temper. She's just not happy, Kakashi said, staring at Pain's every move. Pregnant women are always like this, and besides, when has Master Wife ever been so angry? Obito said. I agree. Iki supported Obito, but Kakashi is right about one thing. Master Wife, she must have done it on purpose. First Minato, then the three of them. Kushina, deliberately creating space. Can you see what Master Wife is saying? Iki asked. No. Kakashi shook his head and called out to his father, let me try from another angle. Pain walked into the room, holding a bunch of meatballs and juice bought from Minato. Pain glanced at Kushina, who was half lying on the rocking chair, staring at the window, and took a cautious step forward. Just put the things there, Pain. Come, sit next to me. Kushina's voice was a little cold. Pain raised his eyebrows, put down the things, came to Kushina and sat down. But suddenly, Kushina suddenly pointed in a direction with a fierce expression. Pain was stunned. Then, Kushina raised her fist again and clicked it with a crackling sound, and the warning meaning was very obvious. Pain wanted to laugh. He knew that this was a warning to the three bastards outside, the one with the one-eyed hairy bastard. This woman's perception is really terrifying. Pain thought to himself. He was forcibly monitored for 2 whole months, and the one who annoyed him the most was Kakashi. This guy's not like that fat guy, nor is he like that shameless guy. He has quality, and every time it is his turn to monitor, he doesn't go in, but sits at the door and stares with his one-eyed eyes all day long. This is what makes people most uncomfortable. He has to be watched, even when he goes to the bathroom. If I had known this, I would have come to Kushina's place every day. Pain laughed in his heart. Every evildoer will be punished by his own evil. The three of them did evil, but they were terrified in front of Kushina. But suddenly, Pain was shocked by his own thoughts again. Am I relying on this woman? Pain frowned and frowned quietly. Kushina saw it. She exhaled, her eyes a little tangled. You have been in Konoha for half a year, right, Pain? Kushina asked. Pain did not respond. He had actually only been here for 4 months and 25 days. Warm reminder, if you can't find the book title, you can try searching for the author. Maybe the name has just been changed. But Kushina didn't mind. She continued to stroke her belly, smiling slightly, radiating the glow of motherhood. She was completely different from the irritable pregnant woman who drove Minato and his 4 disciples out. I've been thinking about it these days. When this child is born, which brother should I let be his teacher? Pain still didn't respond, but he was secretly alert in his heart. His intuition told him that something was wrong. I originally wanted Obito to be the child's teacher. He must be very cute if he's a little chubby. Kushina still didn't wait for Pin's response. She seemed to be chatting, but also seemed to be talking to herself. Indeed, Obito will definitely not be hungry if he takes care of a child, apart from other things. Pin said in his heart. I think about it, Iki seems to be not bad. Kushina smiled. That child has been cautious since he was a child, and he has basically never suffered any loss. Moreover, that child is quite obedient and always puts his companions and family first. He abides by the 3 prohibitions, lives frugally and does not spend money recklessly, does not gamble or read pornographic books, and is very popular with girls. Kakashi can't compare, he often peeks at pornographic books, alas. Kushina sighed as she spoke. Someone outside said fuck. Pin was speechless. Is that guy really that stupid? Iki must be the most wretched among the 3. At this time, Kushina suddenly turned around and smiled at Pin. You've been wronged these days, Pin. Pin was stunned. This woman, didn't she know? It's normal for them to be hostile to you. They are not bad, they just haven't accepted you yet. When you really become their companion one day, you will feel their love. What? Kushina's smile, with the radiance of motherhood, was so sincere and mixed with a little bit of prayer. At this moment, Pin didn't dare to look Kushina in the eye. He felt sincerity, felt trust. Even after experiencing such pain, the nightmare like everything made him lock his heart. Nagato at this moment, in front of Kushina, was also touched. Kushina suddenly told him all this. Pin knew, this woman definitely knew something. At this moment, Pin couldn't help but want to ask. But he didn't know where to start. At this moment, Pin thought of his own plan. It was Yahiko's request before his death, and his powerlessness and pain when Conan was taken away. All of this in the past made him unable to sleep, haunting him like a nightmare. But at this moment, Pin found out. Pin, what's on your neck? Suddenly, Pin heard Kushina's concerned voice. On the neck. Pin instinctively wanted to reach out and touch it, but he found that he couldn't move. The next second. Boom. You bloody bastard, be quiet. It was Iki. He smashed the wall with one punch, and his body was wrapped in dark chakra. His face was fierce and his eyes were flashing scarlet, which looked very scary. I told you, I will keep an eye on you. Another voice sounded. It was Kakashi. He suddenly appeared in front of Pin, blocked between Pin and Kushina, and kicked out. Pin flew backwards, and Iki directly pressed his head and smashed it to the ground. Obito quietly got out from behind Kushina. Master's wife, don't move. I'll take you to a very safe place. Obito came out and sucked Kushina into the Camus space without waiting for her to say anything. In terms of safety factor, where can be safer than Obito's Camus space? Iki controlled Pin's arms with a back crosslock. He had been waiting for a day for a long time. Finally I caught you, didn't I? Zio Heizap. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Chapter 252. The war is coming. Kushina's first reaction, when she just entered the Camus space, was confusion. What came into view was a bamboo forest. She and Obito were in the bamboo forest, and in front of them was a row of houses, about 10 in total. In the largest one, there were several masked ninjas, doctors, and nurses standing at the door. How advanced was Iki in the past 2 months? Illusions, eye techniques, and sealing techniques, those were only prepared for Shizu. While the 3 of them took turns to paralyze pain, a luxurious Konoha hospital was built in Obito's Camus space. At the same time, taking into account Kushina's diet problem, Iki directly applied for funds from the master, not only prepared enough supplies, but also recruited several masters to specialize in cooking. The planner's reply was just one sentence: we are not short of money. The facilities are complete and the environment is beautiful. According to Iki's plan, Kushina can even complete her confinement here. However, there is no way to prevent thieves for 1,000 days. Kushina can come here to take care of her baby at any time, and the best thing is to make Pin show his flaws. But now, Pin's flaws have come out. Iki's plan has been officially activated. Master's wife, it's a long story, I'll make it short. Obito silently took a step back. That Pin is not a good person. The three of us have been watching him for 2 months. Kushina was stunned when she heard this and immediately turned her head to look at Obito. She was about to say something, but Obito had already slipped away for a long way. Anyway, all the dangers outside will be solved by the three of us, so you can just rest assured and take care of the baby. If you really can't help but want to beat someone up, I'll send Minato sensei in later. This is all Minato sensei's idea. The three of us were forced to do this. Obito narrowly escaped from Kushina's iron fist and successfully escaped from the camo space. But when he got to the ground, he saw Iki and Kakashi with serious expressions. Pain was gone. Where are they? Obito had a puzzled look on his face. He remembered that Iki was locked up by someone with his superb taijutsu. He burrowed into the ground. Kakashi pointed at the ground. There's something wrong with that guy's body. Obito then realized that there was a bunch of white things on the ground. What is this? It's his 2 arms. Iki said. He had returned to normal and was gritting his teeth. Pain ran away. Ran away. There is no summoning out a path statue, no path Pain, let alone any exciting battle. Pain acted decisively, threw away his 2 arms, activated the Mayfly technique, and ran away. The most exciting thing is that Kakashi's flying thunder god seal was also gone. This means that Nagato's body transformation is probably more thorough than Obito's in the space-time. Otherwise, it would be impossible to make Kakashi's flying thunder god technique disappear. Obito in that time and space, flying thunder god technique was carried on his body for his whole life. Iki had also experienced the situation of being able to use the Mayfly technique to escape instantly. Last time, White Zetsu brought him directly in front of Madara. But this is not the point. Iki would not be so angry just because Pain escaped. He just saw the figure of Black Zetsu. He was only half an inch away, and he could have taken Black Zetsu together. What should we do now? Obito tilted his head. We've been keeping an eye on him for 2 months, and he just ran away. Don't talk yet, Obito. Iki put his hands on his temples, his brows furrowed, as if he was praying to a god, or as if he was constipated. Kakashi sensed Pain's chakra, so we took action. This proves that he really wants to take action against Kushina, and his target must be the Ninetales. Iki muttered quickly. Kakashi and Obito decisively shut up, and held their breath, for fear of disturbing Iki. The Zio organization was destroyed 2 days ago. The recuperation period plus the time he spent in Konoha. This guy must have been preparing for a long time, and will not give up easily. No. His target is not just the Ninetales. After getting the Ninetales, he must do something. Otherwise, before we come, he will definitely have a chance to take down Kushina directly. His target is the Ninetales, but his goal is to destroy Konoha. No. It's useless to think about these. What is he going to do? What is his plan? The more he thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. If Pain's target was only the Ninetales, then before the square root of 3 came, he would definitely have many chances to complete it. With the Whirlpool bloodline and the highly modified body of White Zetsu, the speed at which Pain can master the Samsurai will only be faster than that of the space-time transformer. He definitely has the power to destroy Konoha. Warm reminder, the problem of logged-in users saving bookshelves across devices has been corrected. If it still cannot be saved, please remember the contents of the bookshelf first, clear the cookies of the browser, log in again, and add it to the bookshelf. But he just injured it for so long, and didn't take action. Even when the 3 of them provoked him so much, Pain could always swallow his anger. This is not right. In addition, the Black Zetsu that just appeared on Nagato's neck. What does Iki think? Why does it feel a bit like the original time and space controlling Obito? Could it be that the one who wanted to attack just now was actually Black Zetsu? There is no reason. The key is, how could such a sinister old man expose himself? Unless Yingshu opened his eyes, his gaze was cold. Last time, old Madara slipped away right under his nose, which made Yingshu feel that it was a stain on his career. And this time, there is another Pain. Or it could be Black Zetsu. Yingshu hated this feeling very much. He obviously had such a strong body, powerful strength, and strong wisdom, but he still got away. It seemed like he was stupid. He was angry. Guys, the crisis has not been resolved yet. We may have been fooled. Yingshu sighed in a deep voice. Kakashi and Obito frowned, because the last time Iki showed this expression and tone was when they were surrounded by the entire rain country. I have a plan. Name. Multi-dimensional empty castle smoke spell, and turning back to draw fish in a jar tactics. You two need to cooperate. I need a reasonable explanation. Black Zetsu. Why do you suddenly want to control my body? Konoha's underground base. Pin's voice of suppressed extreme anger kept echoing. It can be heard that Pin is also angry, but maybe he himself didn't realize. The object of his anger is actually more towards himself. Before Black Zetsu controlled him, he faced the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and actually softened his heart. What Pin didn't know was that this was exactly why Black Zetsu showed up. The first chess piece was defeated because of its own vanity and had to temporarily enter the Pure Land and wait for the right time. The first chess piece was a sixth chess piece. Nagato, Pin, as the third chess piece. Black Zetsu injected as much energy as he did against Madara, and also prepared enough means for them. What he was afraid of was that this chess piece would get out of control. Madara had branded Pin with a restriction, and this restriction was Black Zetsu himself. I just sensed the danger. Pin, you know what I did was right. Black Zetsu laughed strangely. Besides, our plan can start right away, right? Pin expressed his attitude with a cold snort, not realizing the seriousness of the matter at all. When the plan starts, is not something that you can decide with your mind alone. As he said this, Pin looked forward, and in the darkness, a figure quietly appeared, wearing a white robe, long black hair, purple eyeshadow, and strange snake pupils. It was impossible to tell whether it was a man or a woman from the appearance. Pin's eyes flashed with disgust, and he asked coldly, "Are you ready, Orochimaru?" The person who came was Orochimaru. In response to Pin's cold question, Orochimaru smiled slightly and just raised his two fingers. Then, a row of coffins suddenly rose from the ground. Time is a bit tight, and we can't bring out all the strengths of these people. However, that adult is an exception. Warm reminder, to facilitate everyone's book selection, the website's ranking page has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 253 Hunter and Prey. The bait has been released. We have a whole day to wait for the prey to take the bait. Black Zetsu broke away from Pin and came to a ferry. Orochimaru took back all the coffins, and a hint of excitement appeared in his eyes. But based on my understanding of that kid, he won't step out of Konoha so easily. This sentence dispelled Black Zetsu's last suspicion. In Black Zetsu's eyes, Orochimaru has always had a different purpose. Iki. Destroying Konoha is only secondary. What this weird guy really wants is Iki's body. A little perverted, but Black Zetsu can accept it. So I reserved a day. Hey, Zetsu said with a strange smile. He will most likely choose to let others go, or send his own clone. Those two guys are not so easy to take down. He will eventually leave. It's just a matter of time. Wait until they leave Konoha. Hey, Zetsu said, looking at Pin. It's a pity. If the two of them were made into puppets, it would be good. Pin glanced at Heizetsu lightly. He closed his eyes, and the power of his pupils gradually broke free from the seal. One day is enough. Whether they are in Konoha or not, it has no effect on me. Black Zetsu's mistake was that he had a wrong perception of his actions caused by the thousands of people behind the scenes. He thought that everything in the world was controllable. He modified the stone tablet so that he could freely choose any Indra to complete his plan, and finally chose Madara. He became Madara's consciousness, harmed Yahiko, and controlled Konan. Therefore, Pin was controlled. Although there were some small omissions, the superfluous emotions of human beings will always try to escape the trajectory of fate. With that powerful restriction, Black Zetsu can also control everything about Nagato every minute. At this point, Black Zetsu's plan was perfect. But to complete the plan, Pin alone was far from enough. So he opened up the Akatsuki organization. He guided Pin and recruited some powerful people. The Red Sand Scorpion who assassinated the third Kazakage, the Takigakure traitor Kakuzu who was hired for 130 million Ryo, and Orochimaru who lost the election for Hokage and once tried to destroy Konoha. The former was a pure combat force. The two have similar qualities, taciturn and indifferent to life. On behalf of Nagato, Black Zetsu also gave the two an offer they could not refuse: collect the bodies of the 5 Kage, collect the hearts of the 5 cage. Of course, Kakuzu had to be paid extra every day. After all, Scorpio and Kakuzu were cannon fodder in Black Zetsu's eyes. The one he admired the most was the former Konoha war hero, the cold-hearted Orochimaru, who once beat Tsunagakure to the point of not being able to raise his head, and who, together with White Fang, almost made Kirigakure surrender. He lost the election for Hokage, and then secretly took away Konoha's forbidden techniques, which almost destroyed Konoha. In Black Zetsu's eyes, Orochimaru was so similar to the current Uchiha Madara. Of course, there was only experience. This kind of person is very easy to control. You just need to show the same goal as him, and then show a certain level of strength. Pain himself can convince Orochimaru to join. With the vortex blood in the rich cells of Hashirama, Pain has mastered the Samsara to the extreme of his ability. Here is the first mistake made by Black Zetsu: cognitive bias. He thinks that Orochimaru's strength is inferior to Pain. If he is not provided with a certain amount of white Zetsu spore clones, his Earth reincarnation will be equivalent to nothing. The strong who are reborn from the Earth reincarnation cannot escape the control of the Samsara. In the eyes of Black Zetsu, Orochimaru is just a high-end chess piece. The identity of prey and hunter is often just a matter of thought. After that, Black Zetsu made the second mistake. He locked his target on a certain group of old six. At this moment, warm reminder, if you can't find the book title, you can try searching the author. Maybe it's just a name change. Hokage office. That's just a spy. Are you sure you want to go in person? The barrier class sensed that someone broke out of the barrier and initially judged that it was Pain. The mastermind's plan was to let White Fang and his son go in person. Yes, he deceived the master's wife's feelings, and we can't afford this loss. Minato sensei has to go to the Camu space to accompany the master's wife, and when he's done, Uncle White Fang from the Anbu will be there to keep him company. The three of us have nothing to do, so let's go. Iki gave a very reliable reason. Atsuna hesitated for a moment. Until now, she still considered Iki's safety. With the power of square root of 3, plus Minato and Kushina in the Camu space. Okay, go and come back quickly. Don't cross the battle line, or I'll kill you. 3 minutes later, 3 figures flashed out of the Hokage building. Their faces couldn't be seen because they were wearing masks, but judging from their heights, they must be square root of 3. The 3 of them moved very fast. Even Obito showed a surprising speed. Don't be surprised, as the second sage of Mount Mayaboku, Obito has this ability. The direction given in the intelligence is the land of lightning. There is a Kumogakure army led by the third Raikage himself, which is why the generals don't let them cross the front line. According to the intelligence analysis of the Anbu, Pain is most likely a spy from the 3 village coalition. These 2 people have been lurking on a single line, and have collected enough intelligence on Konoha. Iki did not correct it, he even went along with it, and helped to analyze it. Speaking of which, are we being too fake? Kakashi said anxiously, while moving forward quickly. Obito hasn't eaten anything along the way, and it's obvious that he's a fake. Then you have to pretend. Iki said helplessly, he can hide in Konoha for nearly half a day. After all, he has the 6 in his bones. If you don't make a move, he probably won't make a move. Pain, in fact, has nothing to do with the 6th attribute. In the new time and space, he is also a representative figure of toughness. Look at the Zyoshin group in the new time and space. The 4 major ninja villages were beaten, and finally Pain appeared in person and directly destroyed Konoha. If Jiraiya hadn't tried his best to leave information, if the prince hadn't forced to hang up, Konoha might be gone. Pain, Hokage, is a real man. You can't stand that there is a Hizetsu behind him. That's a 1000-level-old man. The only thing that Iki is worried about now is that Hizetsu won't play with you anymore. Hey, I'm scheming and waiting for the next Indra to reincarnate. Waiting for you to grow old and wait for your soul to return to the Pure Land. Are you angry? If Hizetsu really does this, Iki will not be angry. The only way he can think of is to learn from the Otaku Madara and get a pair of Rinnegan himself, then wait until his life is over and let others use his eyes to activate the Rinnegan. He has to live from Danzo to Madara. But fortunately, Iki's worries are unnecessary, because in this competition between the 6th and the 6th, There is a scientist who has gained a god's perspective and is quietly watching. It was a dark and windy day 24 hours after the 3 clones of Iki set out. Still on the Hokage Rock, the figure of Orochimaru appeared. What a pity. The renovation is good. Orochimaru glanced at the renovated Hokage building and raised his 2 fingers. Sorry, Atsuna. Senjutsu Yamato no Orochi. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Chapter 254, Susanoo, Powerful Obito. When Orochimaru appeared in Konoha, in the men's toilet on the east side of the 2nd floor of Konoha Hospital, 3 pairs of eyes suddenly opened. 4 red, 1 white and 1 dead fish, each with more or less immortal tattoos on their faces. Go. Yingshu gave an order. Obito immediately opened the camo space, and the 3 people jumped in immediately. The next moment, on the Konoha building, the 3 square root gods descended. This trick again, don't you have any interest? Yingshu complained, and the 3 fell behind the hands on his chest. The moon is dim and the stars are sparse, and the lights of thousands of houses in Konoha are shining. The Yamato no Orochi once again destroyed the Hokage Rock. The Hokage building, the landmark building of Konoha, was like a toy in front of the snake. The snake was rampaging, and was about to move towards the Hokage building. And Suna. She didn't look surprised. She just raised her head quietly, and looked at Orochimaru on the Yamato no Orochi, that covered the Hokage Rock. The evening breeze blew, roaring, and Tsuna's eyes were calm. Yingshu thought, if Tsuna took a puff of nicotine and tar mixture now, he would definitely look very handsome. But Tsuna is a doctor. She knows that smoking may cause infertility in girls, and she knows that smoking in boys may cause them to be unable to hold their heads up. Tsuna just gently brushed the hair behind her ears. Sentimental, sexy, and domineering. Go ahead. Tsuna said lightly. Iki raised his eyebrows immediately. Okay. He shouted the most excitedly, but it was Obito who took a step forward. Obito jumped forward heavily, and jumped right in front of the huge creature. At the same time, he formed seals with both hands, and in midair, the fairy chakra, that had been boiling for a long time suddenly exploded. Fairy technique super. Multiplication technique. Obito finally mastered the Akimichi clan's multiplication secret technique. His body began to swell, and in the blink of an eye, he was already over 10 meters tall, and was still growing madly. But his body became thinner. The secret techniques of the Akimichi clan have both advantages and disadvantages, and what Obito learned was just how to store and release chakra. On weekdays, he stores the fairy chakra in his flesh. During the battle, he releases it all at once. The arm wrestling champion of Myaboki Mountain, ranked number 2, Sage Obito, is not kidding you. In the blink of an eye, in front of the Yamato no Orochi, which is as big as the 9-tailed snake, appeared the Myaboki Mountain giant that was taller than it. Konoha, I'll protect it. Obito shouted in a second-year voice, the wine-chasing boy who aimed to be Hokage's back. With one step, the space that was originally quite spacious seemed so crowded in front of the 2 huge beasts. Obito fired a XXXXXXXXL Uchiha Iron Fist Plus version, and went straight to the Yamato no Orochi. However, according to Obito's rule of being handsome in less than 3 seconds, a variable suddenly appeared. Obito's punch was handsome, and his shout was also handsome. Orochimaru's eyes were appreciative and calm. He was not surprised, and he seemed to have expected the scene in front of him. Senjutsu, and the Akimichi clan's multiplication technique. This is not our battlefield, Obito-kun. The 8 snake heads of the Yamato no Orochi exerted their strength at once, and 2 of them faced Obito's fists, but they did not fight back, but directly wrapped around Obito's arms. The real man's punch, that Obito expected did not appear, but instead he found that his stomach and legs were tied up in an instant. The 8 snake heads of the Yamato no Orochi actually worked perfectly in an instant to tie Obito up tightly. Then they threw Obito out directly. Hey, shit. Obito's confused shout rang out in the air. Kakashi covered his face, and Ika's face was full of black lines. However, today's Obito is no longer the one who threw a huge fireball and was beaten into a pig's head. Warm reminder, if you can't find it by searching the book title, you can try searching the author. Maybe he just changed his name. Camu began to spin between his eyes. Yingshu thought he would force himself to open the virtual key to stabilize the situation, but the next second, he saw Obito's creativity, which he had never shown before. Yes, creativity. Obito in the original Time and Space also used Kamu and Fire Escape to create Time and Space Fire Escape. The previous Obito, under the guidance of Jiraiya, also used the Toad Claw. The power is good. And the current Obito, Susanoo, power armor. Blue chakra spread all over his body, spreading rapidly, condensing quickly, and forming a layer of solid armor, which was then put on Obito's body. This is not over yet. Obito's strength was also enhanced under the blessing of Susanoo. He actually pulled the Yamato no Orochi up in midair. This is not over yet. Obito pulled out the 8-headed snake, exerted force from his waist, and swung it violently, and actually threw the snake out directly. Their battlefield will be on the plain above the Hokage Rock. Obito landed. What a blue armored warrior. Chakra condensed in his left hand, and the great shield of Kamu reappeared. Chakra surged in his right hand, and a short-handled axe of the same type that Iki used to use was in his hand. You must be 8 stage today. Obito held Susanoo and wielded the sage in one hand and rushed towards the Yamato no Orochi. He saved the Hokage building. However, there was no sign of relaxation in Tsuneyoshi's eyes. The Hokage Rock was destroyed after all. It was still a personal grudge. The first and second generations were only partially damaged, and it was not serious. It would only take an afternoon to repair it. The fourth generation was intact, and Tsuneyoshi was still the Hokage who was watching over Konoha. Only the third generation's rock. Only 2 deep marks were left. It disappeared. But Tsuneyoshi could see clearly in front of him that it was bitten off by a snakehead. What made Tsuneyoshi frown was not the destroyed Hokage Rock, but after the Yamato no Orochi was thrown away by Obito, there was a whole row of coffins in the original place. A total of 6. Let me do it. I've learned some sealing techniques recently. Iki moved his arms and moved forward. Orochimaru's attack on Konoha this time must not be that simple. According to the plan made by Iki before, it is normal for some powerful Earth reincarnated warriors to appear. The people of Konoha are evacuating quickly, with the experience 2 years ago, and the implicit reminder when he went to Uchiha last time. This time, Konoha's losses will be limited to inherent assets to the greatest extent. Yes. The small note that said, be careful of Shizu completely let Iki let go of his reserve. In order to perfectly solve this Nine-Tails Night, he has put in a lot of effort. The entire Konoha can be used as his battlefield. He doesn't need to be timid. Tonight, let's fight to our heart's content. Bang, bang, bang. The coffins were opened one after another. Orochimaru was dragged to the other side by Obito, and the Earth reincarnation technique was obviously prepared long ago. Iki frowned. He was a little excited by Obito just now, but he realized belatedly that the number of these coffins seemed a little bit irregular. Before Iki could think about it, the figures that emerged from the coffins one after another, those eyes with purple ripples, gave Iki the answer. Warm reminder, this site uses cookie technology to save your reading history and bookshelf, so clearing browser cookie data, reinstalling the browser and other operations will make your reading progress disappear. It is recommended to occasionally take a screenshot and save the bookshelf to prevent losing the novel you are reading. Chapter 255. Orochimaru has an idea. In his previous life, when Iki was watching Naruto, he had thought to himself, if he accidentally traveled through time and space to Pain, how could he save his life? The answer must be found in the Samurai. First, the 6 paths of Pain. He certainly couldn't use the original corpses as puppets. Although he could update his status with the Shura path, he would have to use his own chakra after all, which was a blood loss. Finally, he could learn from Obito of 544 and replace him with the Earth reincarnation. After that, he could continue to update the strong man, and he didn't have to worry about the nails being pulled out and the disadvantage of no signal. But now, when those coffins were opened, Iki seemed to have seen the reference answer. The first person to come out was Hanzo, an old acquaintance of Iki in the guide who opened Obito's eyes. Yingshu was not sure which one he was from, because everyone who came out next seemed to be quite powerful. A guy with bandages all over his body, the second Suchikage. A guy wearing a cloak, the third Kazakage. 2 strong men who looked similar, with the same black beards on their faces, but one had blonde hair and the other had silver hair. The Kinkaku and Jinkaku brothers. Finally, there was a man with orange hair. He walked out of the coffin, but there were no cracks on his face. Instead, there were many black nails that pierced through all the facial features except the eyes. Yingshu had not seen it with his own eyes, but he knew it, and he could be sure that this was Tendo Pain. Yahiko. The new 6 paths of pain. That's interesting, huh? Iki muttered to himself. It can be determined that Orochimaru and Pain have joined forces, but it seems that Orochimaru has other ideas. As for the reference answer for the 6 paths of pain, Iki's version is actually the 3 Hokage from the 1st to 3rd Hokage with 50% of the combat power, plus Madara with 30% of the combat power, as well as Kushina Rin. Rin is in charge of the human path or the hell path, and she can plan the water if she wants to mess with Obito. The rest will be left to others to solve. But Orochimaru helped Pain to create this new 6 paths of pain. It's a bit strange. Let me guess, the animal path should be Hanzo, who uses his salamander to make poison. Iki began to think about it. Then Shirado and human way should be Kinkaku and Jinkaku, with certain combat power, hard support. Heavenly way is Yahiko, Shirado is the 3rd Kazekage, and Hungry Ghost way is, oh, the 2nd Tsuchikage. Orochimaru has a good idea, huh? This is the most reasonable combination in Iki's calculation. In addition to Yahiko, the 3rd Kazekage's Satiwa will be the Shirado, and the 2nd Tsuchikage Hungry Ghost way can absorb chakra while escaping with the backhand. But the key is, reasonable as it is, the combat power on paper is also average? So what the hell is Orochimaru doing? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 6 paths of pain surrounded Iki. Kakashi in the Hokage building was about to summon his treasured sacral muscle without saying a word, but was stopped by Iki. This should be just a feint. Go help Obito and defeat Orochimaru. Iki shouted loudly, shouting out his confidence, which made Pain feel despised. Feint? Tendo Pain took a step forward and stretched out his hand at the same time, aiming at Iki. 10,000 element heaven attraction. Song. The powerful suction force directly made Iki lose control of his body, and the whole person was uncontrollably sucked in front of Tendo Pain. Tendo Pain held Iki's throat and stared into Iki's eyes with his cold eyes of reincarnation. Then, he said the line that Iki had been waiting for a long time. How many floors does a bag of rice have to support? Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and read background color in the upper right corner of the page. While speaking, the remaining 5 pains attacked at the same time, with black long sticks in their hands, directly stabbing Iki into a hedgehog. Iki. Kakashi, who was about to go to the other battlefield, roared angrily, but his expression was calm, his eyes were helpless and speechless, and the key was that he covered his ears. Sure enough, the next second, I saw that Iki suddenly turned into a puff of white smoke, and then, boom. From the beginning, this was a clone. Hydrogen escape clones. Atsuna was confused by this scene, but when she saw Yingshu emerging from the ground at the same time on all 4 sides of the battlefield, she immediately understood. Then she slapped Kakashi on the forehead. Why are you so loud? Kakashi felt wronged. He was just from the atmosphere group. What was wrong with him? Ninjutsu, 4 red flame formation. 4 red lasers rose up in a square layout at the same time, reaching the sky and connecting to each other. The red barrier instantly took shape. 4 red flame formation. This is the result of Yingshu's evolution in the past 2 months. At that time was tight, so he couldn't use the more advanced 4 red yang formation, and now it seemed to be enough. Iju came out of the ground, not to attack, but to wait for them to recover. 5 paths of earth pain was blown to pieces, and entered the repair mode on the spot. But Tendo Pain could not be repaired, but after all, he was Tendo, and it seemed that he had also undergone the transformation of white Zetsu cells. Tendo Pain did not look too bad, at least he did not lose any limbs. You seem to have some misunderstanding about the difference in strength between us, Pain. Iju started to provoke, and at the same time, he gestured to Kakashi with one hand behind his back. Kakashi understood immediately and went straight to the battlefield where Obito was, but in fact, he opened his Byakugan and began to search for the location of Pain's body. Iki's target, however, was the Rinnegan. Misunderstanding? Your arrogance will cause you to suffer more pain, Iki. It was not Yohiko who spoke, but the second Tsuchikage. He was the one who completed the repair the fastest, because the huge size of Kinkaku and Jinkaku helped him to block a lot of damage. The second Tsuchikage came in front of Iki, in a defensive posture. Iki saw it clearly, and followed closely behind the repaired Jinkaku, and used hand seals to summon Henra. Iki raised his eyebrows. Orochimaru, he definitely can't mess with it. He can dig out Hashirama, and he can probably do Madara too. But he didn't. He didn't even deify Kinkaku and Jinkaku. Iki is not sure what Orochimaru's position is. He knows that Iki is definitely not the mastermind behind the battle that destroyed Konoha. Key intuition tells Iki that it seems that Orochimaru is not. After 2 encounters with Orochimaru, Iki realized that this Orochimaru who seems to have a golden finger, seems to be afraid of something. This is what Iki can't figure out. Iki has always felt that his intuition is accurate. After being a boss for so long, he still has this confidence. Is he afraid that I will come back and kill him in the future? Iki raised his eyebrows again. But it doesn't matter. In front of him, Tendo Pain has recovered, and Mid-Path Pain has also recovered. Mid-Path Pain surrounded Iki again, but this time, it seems that he is not as reckless as before. It seems that he is going to use tactics. Come on, show it. Iki spread his hands, seemingly unguarded, but the chakra in his body surged. What he has to do now is to hold down Pain and say, and then wait for Kakashi to bring good news. If you can't kill me tonight, I will go to find Konan tomorrow. I have even thought of a name for our son. Just Nagato. How about it? Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. Chapter 256. Am I strong? The pair of eyes locked onto Iki with no blind spots, and had all the abilities to attack, defend, control, and recover. The ability of the Samsara Master Pain was already perfect, and coupled with these dead people whose strength before death was not weak, the danger factor was maximum doubt. However, would it really work? Iki didn't know, because he was never careless, and never underestimated the enemy. Was he showing off his disdain for Master Pain by spreading his hands? No. He was just pretending. Magnetic release, Sandian Rain. The first to launch the attack was the Sandaime Kazekage. He was an honest man. After all, he had no role to play. He would either be used as a puppet by the Earth reincarnation, or be used as a human puppet. The Sandaime Kazekage stepped on the iron sand, and soared into the air. The black iron condensed into needles, and rushed straight towards Iki. Oh. Iki didn't even move, and had already activated the chakra that invaded the ground inside the barrier, the earth technique. The earth wall rose up, and it was hard enough. Now Iki was in sage mode. Bang 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 bang. Thousands of sand and iron hit the earth wall, and even pierced the earth wall with hedgehogs, but it didn't pose any threat to Iki. Iki hugged his hands around his neck, in a relaxed posture. He was a little unhappy, because he originally wanted to use the main Gekyo to transform a pain technique, to achieve a better effect. Unfortunately, he couldn't control Shady. He had studied the blood limit for a long time, and the limit was not small, but it was only second to what he had seen. It's a pity that the current Nagato seems to have not developed missiles yet, alas. Yingshu sighed. The technology tree in the ninja world has always been distorted. In the original time and space, Pain's Shirado had missiles and lasers, which was the romance of men. The earth wall fell, and Yingshu's eyes were directed at Tendo Pain. Continue. Yingshu stretched out his hand, and hooked his fingers. As you wish. The voice came from behind Yingshu's side, and when it sounded, it had already come behind Yingshu. 2 arms passed through Iki's armpits and finally locked Iki's neck. Iki didn't have eyes on the back of his head, but he could see the bandage on the arm with the peripheral vision of his eyes. It was a second generation Tsuchikage. Just now, Iki used the earth wall to block the sand iron, and the second generation Tsuchikage secretly went around the wave. I said that you will feel more pain, because of your arrogance. Iki was right. The second generation Tsuchikage was the hungry ghost. He could feel the loss of chakra, and he also found that the hungry ghost's ability was not just to absorb chakra, but also seemed to suppress the activity of the body. At this moment, Iki suddenly remembered a common sense that is easy to be overlooked in the later period: chakra, which seems to be refined from cells. If you are a person of your word, then please increase your strength. Iki grabbed the wrist of the hungry ghost with both hands. For comparison, the current Iki and Naruto when Pain destroyed Konoha in the original time and space. Both of them have fairy arts. Naruto is the Myoboku mountain fairy arts, and the amount of fairy arts chakra, including the clone, is a total of the first fairy art, the Rasenshukun. And Yingshu, it is the wet bone forest ninjutsu. The amount of ninjutsu chakra is accumulated after the development of the ninjutsu seal for more than 500 days, plus the wet bone forests and shadow clones. So Yingshu is not afraid of being sucked, but he hates being hugged so tightly by such a big man. So, Yingshu chooses to resist. Thousand Hands Power, Explosion. Ninjutsu Seal, Overload. Hungry Ghost Road instantly felt a huge force on his arm. He obviously absorbed a huge amount of chakra, but this guy actually has nothing. Question mark? Your strength is not enough. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Yingshu screamed, and then he crushed the wrist of the hungry ghost directly. Then he turned around and kicked the hungry ghost into the barrier with a high whip kick, and the 4-point flame array suddenly flashed with flames. But the evil ghost was a body transformed from earth after all, and he began to recover in the process of retreating. But, when this body touched the barrier, half of the body was burned again. The hungry ghost staggered forward a step, and then began the normal recovery process. This scene made Yingshu raise his eyebrows. If I had created a barrier directly from the coffin stage, so that the body of the earth transmigration was forced to be destroyed and reassembled from the beginning, wouldn't that be? Yingshu's eyes lit up, and he seemed to have found a way to restrain the earth transmigration. Find the caster and beat him up. X seal with a sealing technique. X use a barrier to make a high temperature can. Yingshu's eyes immediately wandered, and he was looking for the location of the brothers Kinkaku and Yinkaku, ready to experiment. However, he saw the Sandaime Kazakage who was holding back his ultimate move. The black iron sand gathered in the air and condensed into a huge conical triangle. At the same time, he heard a sharp sound behind him. Turning his head, he saw that it was the hungry ghost who had just recovered halfway and started to make hand seals. He was using dust escape. Above, there was a magnetic iron sand spike that used high mass and density plus gravity acceleration to form high intensity impact kinetic energy. On the side, there was a chakra blood succession elimination of the trinity of wind, earth, and fire. If you touch it, you will enter the atomic state. Hanzo has summoned a salamander covered with big black spikes, and it rushed over with its fangs and claws bared. The two brothers Kinkaku and Yinkaku also charged. Yingshu was just thinking about a way to restrain the earth turning, but Pain was mutely holding back a combination move. At this moment, the enemy's attack routes are all around Yingshu, in front of, behind, to the left, and directly above him. How can he break this wave? Forget about drilling into the ground. Even a child knows how to do it. Yingshu clapped his hands and drilled directly into the ground. Boom. The iron sand spike hit the ground first and directly smashed a deep pit. The dust escape at the side and rear followed closely and hit the iron sand, and a big hole was instantly knocked out of the iron sand. The salamander controlled by Hanzo Salamander missed the target, but did not hit the dust escape or the iron sand, but braked the car with a cool drift. The Kinkaku and Jinkaku brothers also braked, and both looked at Tendo Pain. This is the instinctive judgment of human nature, and Nagato is no exception. After evacuating from the encirclement in a wretched manner, shouldn't he attack the ob character who didn't make a move? In the situation of being outnumbered, shouldn't he defeat them one by one? Tendo Pain began to mobilize chakra, and he waited for Iki to make a move. Hungry Ghost Road also prepared his dust escape again, aiming at Tendo Pain. Just wait for Iki to appear, and then it will be a perfect combination of skills to annihilate Iki into slag. And Nagato, it seems that he knows nothing about Iki's strength or his fighting body. What would it be like when a 6th ranked warrior who clearly had the power to crush others, but used tactics for the sake of caution and delaying time? Would it be a scene? Yingshu told Pain the answer. Kakashi, we should be able to find it, right? Yingshu muttered to himself, and at the same time, underground, his chakra was ready. Ninjutsu, 99 blood holes continuous explosion technique. One by one, bamboos rose from the ground at a fast speed, directly piercing through the 5 pins on the ground, and then spread wildly, connecting to the 3rd Kazakage Shirado in the air, and directly pierced through the body of the Haman bamboo. The earth-transforming body immediately entered the self-repair mode, except for the heavenly path pin, and Yingshu, then, slowly drilled out from the ground. Tell me, am I powerful? Yingshu stared at Tendo Pain gently. He knew that Nagato was looking at him. Yingshu didn't wait for Tendo Pain to answer. He just snapped his fingers. The next second, boom. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, Unable to respond. To Iki, Pain is too weak. Or maybe it's not Pain, the Rinnegan, or the strong men who were excavated from the earth that are weak. The weak one is Nagato. He may be able to control the power of each path very well, and there is enough tactical coordination between them. But in Ika's eyes, the Pain just now always reveals one word, noob. He just plays a hand of cards and smashes them to pieces. You're killed when you're outnumbered 6-1. Do you know how to play? Iki looked at Tendo Pain, who was stabbed into the air by a bamboo stick. The remaining 5 paths of pain had been physically sealed by him using wood release. Those bamboos also kept plundering and suppressing Pain's chakra. In this situation, Pain couldn't even use Shinra Tensei, let alone Chibaku Tensei. Iki was actually a little wary of the Rinnegan. After all, it was a higher level existence than his twin Mangane cause. If 6 paths Pain could match it well, it would be very powerful. The key is that Nagato is not competitive. Iki was not bragging about those little tactics. He just took a glance and guessed most of it immediately. Pain's idea was, wait for him to appear, use Shinra Tensei to bounce him away, use Animal Path Salamander to pinch him, and then use Hungry Ghost Path Precision Dust Escape to kill the enemy. It doesn't matter if you hit the Animal Path. After all, you can be resurrected. But if you hit him with Dust Release, even if it's just a touch, the game is basically over. This is how ninja fights are. You test the cooperation between the two, formulate a tactic, and take them away with one set. It depends on who thinks more, and who sees farther. At least Yingshu thinks so. Of course, the most important thing is the VIP level. You don't even have a V8. What can you do? You are too weak, Nagato. Yingshu stared into the eyes of Tendo Pain, and that disappointed look seemed to slap Nagato in the face. Power gained through hatred will only make you lost. Such people have no future. You should learn from me to have great love in your heart and responsibilities on your shoulders, so I'm invincible. Yingshu looks a bit like a villain at this moment, but in all conscience, he really just wants to delay time. His plan is to have a hearty battle with Pain, let Pain devote himself to it, and kill Kakashi when he is at his happiest. But Pain is too weak. The configuration of Pain's 6 paths is luxurious, although it is still far from the Supreme Deluxe Edition. If he were to do it, Konoha would have to turn over 8 times. Unfortunately, Nagato is not good at tricks. The bamboo release blessed by the immortal technique is too powerful. Why is wood release so powerful? The answer is of course, that the chakra base is large enough. Water and soil are just the basis of Yang escape, which represents vitality. With the blessing of fairy technique, it looks like escape, but it is actually a combination skill. So Yingshu can feel at ease when he blows up Hashirama in the future. We are all combination players, so no one should criticize anyone. Yingshu's bamboo escape may not be as majestic and domineering as Hashirama's, and it is full of oppression. But he grows fast. Yingshu judged that in terms of growth speed, when his bamboo escape is fully exploded, it must be 3 to 5 times that of wood escape. The word fast is emphasized. Unbeatable? Tendo Pain spoke coldly. Even though he was stabbed like a string of incense, his vocal cords were still intact. You really are. Really what? Yingshu frowned, but he was actually happy in his heart. It couldn't be better if Pain was willing to chat. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Kushina gave you a chance, Nagato. Yingshu said in a deep voice, I found something wrong the first time I saw you. Your cold chakra makes it seem like someone owes you a few million taels. Do you think Kushina doesn't know? Yingshu said, while paying attention to the expression of Tendo Pain. The answer is no expression. This is just a puppet. Nagato may still be able to show some expression when he is controlling Tendo with all his heart and soul. But now Tendo Pain is in a state of being half sealed by Yingshu's wood release. Expressionless and silent. From what I know about her, the moment you stepped into Konoha, she discovered something was wrong with your identity, Nagato. But she never attacked you, and even often asked you to accompany her. What do you think she wanted? Pain's body trembled. Seeing this, Yingshu raised his eyebrows. My mouth persuasion seems to be quite powerful. Yingshu decided to strike. While the iron was hot, she wanted you to find your sunshine and dispel the darkness in your heart by witnessing the birth of a new life, Nagato. Obviously, she failed. Yingshu laughed sarcastically. He was mocking Nagato and also mocking himself. The truly strong cannot be defeated with words. The truly strong never need words. Yes, she lost. At this time, Pain suddenly spoke, but his tone seemed wrong. But how can you be sure that you will definitely win? As he spoke, a coffin rose from the ground behind Yingshu. Bang! Yingshu kicked hard without looking back, and immediately bamboos emerged from the ground one after another, growing wildly and surging wildly. In just a moment, bamboos like long spears pierced the coffin and the dirt inside into pieces. Anything else? Iki tilted his head, a little arrogant. Nagato was silent for a moment. No, Iki judged that the one who was controlling Pain in front of him might be Nagato. At this moment, Iki suddenly felt something and turned his head. He actually saw a face that was twisted with excitement, but full of cracks, and the unruly Obito hairstyle, and the retro red armor. Fuck me. Iki was scared. He never thought that Black Zetsu's silence was to paralyze him, and he never thought that Madara would also sneak attack. He didn't expect that he would be defeated in his first encounter with Black Zetsu. Fell into a trap. When he turned around, Bang was very close to him, and the target was clear, which was his eyes. At this moment, it was impossible for Yingshu to defend himself. It was too late to attack or defend. But Yingshu would not sit and wait for death. Some people, after being severely frightened, will be stunned in place. Their brains will crash. Their faces will be pale and skinny. Everyone will be frightened, and Yingshu is no exception. But in order to save his life, Yingshu had already trained his muscle memory to react to being frightened. Immortal leap. Yingshu jumped sideways and then kicked out 10 meters away. Uchiha Madara missed the target, but did not chase him again. Instead, he used his skills on the spot. Uchiha's crazy laughter. Hello. It feels so good to be ambushed. Isn't it exciting? Warm reminder, if you can't find the book by searching the title, you can try searching the author. Maybe he just changed his name. Chapter 258, Battle with the Golden Dirt Spot. Madara really thought that Iki was Hashirama. The sneak attack just now was obviously due to personal grudges. Iki rolled on the spot, half crouched in a posture that he felt was quite handsome, and stared at Madara. It's ridiculous. You and Hashirama have a bad relationship. Why are you looking for me? Question mark? Iki narrowed his eyes. So, Nagato is now accused. Black Zetsu's goal is to directly resurrect Madara. The Madara in front of him was full of vigor and domineering, and the body he resurrected was obviously not weaker than the one of the 5 kg in the original time and space battle. And things seemed to be much clearer all of a sudden. It was not an illusion that he saw Black Zetsu that day. Nagato was just a pawn, and the protagonists have always been Black Zetsu and Madara. This body must have been created by Orochimaru, right? What on earth does this guy want to do? Iki glanced into the distance, but could not see anything. He could only vaguely hear the sound of bombardment. Obito was obviously having a great fight with Orochimaru. Iki was not worried about the battlefield over there. Obito was very cunning. If something went wrong, he would run away in a minute. So, you are the final boss, Madara. Iki stood up. He had already come to a conclusion. Never mind what happened to Orochimaru. This is the logic. If Orochimaru had a power that was greater than the peak level Madara in front of him, then there would be no need to reincarnate Madara. Then the goal of Black Zetsu and Madara was to let Nagato perform the outer path, reincarnation natural talent technique, revive Madara, and conquer the ninja world. It was equivalent to cutting off the plan, passing on the capture of the tailed beasts, and reducing it to Madara completing it personally. Then the final answer was about to come out. Iki's chakra surged, and the surrounding ground suddenly collapsed. The sage's facial expression, that was exactly the same as Ashirama's, finally spread to Iki's face. SEN seal, 70%, released. Strictly speaking, the chakra stored in the SEN seal is not Senjutsu chakra. Senjutsu chakra is the product of the perfect fusion of three energies. Iki's sage mode is quite special, because he has a bit more natural energy stored. Under normal circumstances, he only needs to release 30% minus 40%. To be a qualified Sage Land player. In that case, Iki can very freely fuse spiritual energy and physical energy with his body. This has become his instinct. But when the natural energy stored in the Sage Seal is released to 70%, the quantitative change produces a qualitative change, and he has to be serious. If he practiced the Myabakuzen Sage technique, in this case, he would accidentally turn into a frog. If he practiced the Ryuchidang Sage technique, he might now become a creature like Kakishi's girlfriend. But he practices the Wetbone Forest immortal art. The result of incomplete fusion is not turning into a slug, with the big pillar as his foundation. The natural energy will overflow at most, and it will not have a negative impact on him. But the key is, Yingshu can achieve fusion, and he can do it very well, because he has tools, very good tools. Kaleidoscope, Yin Seal, 30%, release. 50% of the kaleidoscope pupil power plus 30% of the Yin Seal chakra plus 70% of the natural energy stored in the immortal seal. Perfect fusion. SSSR immortal Yingshu's first form. Here, Yingshu's black hair moved without wind, and the manic chakra had torn his upper body clothes into pieces, revealing the totem-like immortal pattern. At this moment, let alone Yingshu's other things, his momentum alone has crushed Madara by 10 streets. When masters fight, momentum is particularly important. Yingshu even tore his own clothes for this. Madara, Yingshu and others in charge of the barrier disappeared immediately. Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. The 4 red flame formations dissipated immediately. Yingshu has turned into a cannonball and headed straight for Uchiha Madara. Hashirama. How could Madara not be excited? Question mark. Facing the charging Iki, the thick chakra coat that seemed to be real, the main Ki tubes in Madara's eyes spun wildly, crushing the ground, and also turned into a cannonball, heading straight for Iki. The collision between the two at this moment was like the last blow before the finale. The ending was completely different from the inherent routine of the finale. There was no evenly matched wrestling, no high decibel screaming, and no white light occupying the entire screen. Iki's punch had the power of 741 days. The moment Uchiha Madara made contact, his arm turned into pieces of paper, half of his body also turned into pieces of paper, and the whole person flew out. The body of the earthly Tensang couldn't even withstand a punch from Iki. This is not over yet. Most pigs would explode after being beaten, but an old man like Iki is afraid of pain, and he hates being beaten. He exploded directly, just to absolutely crush him. He kicked his feet on the ground, and the manic chakra drilled into the ground, and then a wall of earth rose behind Iki. Iki jumped, his feet stuck to the wall of earth, his body and the ground were connected, and he was in the appearance posture of Ultraman, and attacked. Light fist. As soon as the earth wall was raised, it was kicked to pieces by Iki. Iki then burst out with a speed 3 times faster than before, and directly caught up with Uchiha Madara, whose body had not yet fully recovered. He held down his head and smashed it directly into the ground. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a sandbag? Bang. With a punch, Uchiha Madara's head turned directly into pieces of paper and then quickly repaired. Iki's current state is a bit manic. He doesn't care. He doesn't listen. He just wants to hammer. Bang. Another punch. This punch is actually useless because Madara's head has not recovered yet. Iki doesn't care. Bang 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 bang. Madara's head keeps repeating between recovery and disappearance. Iki performed a physical sealing technique, which made Orochimaru sigh, and the second generation shed tears. Iki punched him hundreds of times, until he wanted to change his position. He grabbed one of Madara's legs and then spun around in circles. After spinning hundreds of times, a big hole was drilled in the ground by Iki's feet. Iki then exerted force and threw Madara out. Madara's head recovered in mid-air. After being hit like this, there was no anger in his eyes, but extreme excitement, looking like a pervert. Come on. Keep going. This kind of fight is what the Uchiha should pursue. Come on. Madara made a seal with his hands, and then the overwhelming fire wave gushed out directly. Fire style, great fire extinguishment. This move is outdated. Damn it. Facing the raging fire wave, Iki clapped his hands, and black chakra gushed out. Susanoo. But it did not turn into a towering giant, but turned into armor, and just condensed on Iki's body. Obito used this move at Myaboki Mountain, but the shameless Iki just learned it. Susanoo. 5th stage, the mighty sage. In his hand, the thousand hands appeared. Ijutsu took the posture of a javelin, with the muscles of his right arm bulging, and chakra injected at the same time. Lightning flashed on the thousand hands instantly. Z. Whoosh. The lightning thousand hands slashed through the night sky, heading straight for the fire wave, heading straight for Uchiha Madara. This is not over yet. Ijutsu of his right eye was activated. Energy conversion. Senjutsu Great Water Dragon formation. The fire wave was instantly transformed into water wave, and at the same time, water dragons rose up. Under the blessing of the thunder of the thousand hands, the water dragons were mixed with lightning and turned against the unlucky Madara. Senjutsu Great Water Dragon Thunder Formation to kill Madara. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid being unable to find it next time. Chapter 259, Yingshu's real ultimate move. The thousand-armed sword, carrying the power of thunder, directly hit Madara. Madara did not resist or dodge. He let the thunder sword destroy his body, and then was washed away by the roaring water dragon. His eyes were full of disappointment. He could not feel his blood flowing, and could not feel any pain. It was like an Alice saw a beautiful young lady, but he could not get hard. It made people embarrassed and angry. At the same time, this disappointment was also partly for Iki. Madara was directly knocked out of Konoha by Iki's combo. Iki was originally prepared to beat Madara to the Valley of the End in one go, but when he rushed up, the blue Susanoo stopped him. At this moment, Madara used the third stage of Susanoo. He looked like a cold assassin, wearing a hooded cloak, or like a mysterious wizard, with his hands clasped together, pious and indifferent. At this moment, Madara's eyes had been switched to the Rinnegan with purple waves. Iki kept the mini Susanoo, looked up, and stared at Madara. You are different from him. Madara spoke. His voice was cold, like a high god. Every ninjutsu of that guy has reached the pinnacle, and his vitality is so strong that any injury can be healed quickly without hand seals. My fight with him was a life and death fight every minute and every second. Madara paused, and his cold eyes scanned Iki's black armor and mini Susanoo up and down. And you obviously have the power of Uchiha and Senju, but this toy on you. Heh. Are you still a child? Madara's tone suddenly became strange, and Yingshu felt despised from it. This made him happy. A qualified old sixth likes to be despised the most. But this also made him angry. A man should not be despised. You are really hard-mouthed, Madara. Yingshu tilted his head, and the black armor on his body was removed, turned into chakra, and then dissipated. Kids fight with kune, ninjas fight with ninjutsu, and Uchiha ninjas fight with this kit. Madara pointed to his eyes. We use pupil techniques, not mouths. Yingshu felt that he was defeated. Defeated by Madara's ignorance. Doesn't this guy know that he knows the Susanoo style Buddha? Senjutsu. I saw Yingshu put his hands together. He was going to use a big move. Wood style, woodman technique. Wood style, wood dragon technique. Bamboos emerged from Yingshu's feet, growing longer and spreading. In the blink of an eye, all he could see was a sea of bamboo. An extremely thick bamboo rose from the ground, and its height instantly surpassed Madara's third stage Susanoo. Then a wood-style giant emerged from it, and at the same time, there was a large dragon that looked like it was made of bamboo. Power suit. Yingshu released his pupil power, and armor instantly appeared on the wood-style giant's body, and the wooden dragon thousand-handed sword in his hand emerged, and his height had reached 220 meters, nearly half a meter taller than before. Iki was suspended between his eyebrows. At this moment, he was actually looking down at Madara from a high position. This is interesting. Really? Uchiha Madara clenched one hand, and his expression, which was cold and disappointed just now, turned into a crazy state again. Susanoo's chakra condensed, his figure rose, and his armor emerged. What a perfect Susanoo warrior. But Madara's perfect Susanoo, whose height was just over 200 meters, was a head shorter than Iki's. Let's not talk about this for now. Susanoo was almost perfect, and his chakra was stable, but chakra was transparent after all. Iki's majestic outfit, would release general, looked more substantial, because the chakra itself was pitch black, and there was also a would release giant inside. Madara's complete form of Susanoo is also stable, but compared to Iki's majestic general, I always feel that. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid being unable to find it next time. It feels like a pirated copy. Moreover, the most important thing is that Madara's Susanoo is short. Iki showed a satisfied smile on his face. Iki posed in a majestic general, with his sword raised to the side, and stroking his beard with one hand. So, can we start? Shorty? Iki challenged wildly. The excitement on Madara's face suddenly dimmed a lot. Now you are like a child who just got a toy. Little brat. I'm a little strange. Just relying on your chakra. How long can you last? Madara spoke in a cold tone, and swung the Susanoo warrior sword, slashing straight at the mighty general. Of course I will hold on until I seal you. Yingshu was not to be outdone, and the mighty general stepped forward and smashed the wooden dragon thousand-handed sword in his hand high up. Boom. The two Susanoo warriors collided, and the movement and stillness produced were like thunder, and the flames between them flew everywhere, causing a series of energy explosions. After all, the two Susanoo warriors were all materialized by chakra, and energy collision and explosion were the most basic manifestations. But it was obvious that neither of them was prepared to use only superficial means. Iki's pupil power shone, controlling the wooden dragon on the broadsword, and biting directly at Madara in the middle of Susanoo. Madara, on the other hand, made seals with both hands, and the pupil power in his samurai spread out, reaching the sky. The clouds suddenly burst, the moonlight was blocked, and a black shadow was about to fall. Heavenly shock star. From the surface, the two of them did not care about martial ethics. A giant blade battle is a giant blade battle. Why are they beating around the bush? In fact, Iki was at a disadvantage. The wooden dragon rushed towards the Susanoo titan and directly entangled its head. After all, Madara had the samurai plus the earth body, and his pupil power was sufficient. The upper and lower plates of Susanoo were so hard that he was unmoved for a while. In the sky, a huge meteorite with a diameter of 258.18 meters was falling. Madara's face was full of smiles. He could not feel the blood boiling, but he could enjoy some fun of fighting. The chain that binds others seems to be around your own neck, little guy. You can just throw away the Miroku. You can also leave Susanoo. Run away. No one will laugh at your retreat. It's natural for you to be cowardly, because your opponent is Uchiha Madara. I don't use wood release, and I'm not an opponent you can defeat, kid. Yingshu accepted Madara's raw expressionlessly. He admitted. 6. Madara is still better. This guy's battle sense is really sharp, and he even calculated his next step. Relying on your dead body, you are still so proud. Yingshu replied without any pain or itching. Madara is so arrogant, isn't it because he relies on his body, that is made of dirt and dust? Iki immediately formed seals with both hands. Last time, He fought against Hashirama, whose strength was barely half of his, and he won by hitting him twice in a row with his butt sticking up and his head in the standard prone position. This time, he doesn't want to hit him again. One by one, bamboos with a diameter of just 3 meters rose from the ground. There were exactly 36 bamboos, and they appeared behind Iki. I didn't want to use this move. It's too sinful, and I can't bear it. Iki sighed. If he hadn't had to put on a show for the 6-foot sage, he would have waited until the Otsutsuki arrived before showing off this move. Madara narrowed his eyes. I saw Yingshu on the opposite side. His hands suddenly increased the speed of making seals. After deciphering the blood limit, Yingshu could only make so many seals. After all, he racked his brains to decipher the blood limit. Wasn't it just for this move? Under Yingshu's control, the bamboo slowly rose up and aimed at the meteorite that was approaching in the sky. Immortal technique hydrogen escape. Yingshu clapped his hands. This was his real ultimate move. Katasha art. Warm reminder, the problem of logged in users saving bookshelves across devices has been corrected. If you still cannot save, please remember the contents of the bookshelf first, clear the cookies of the browser, log in again, and add it to the bookshelf. Chapter 260. The left eye twitches and the peach blossoms. The right eye twitches and the chrysanthemum blossoms. Energy conservation, an abstract concept. This concept seems to be an unbridgeable gap between magic and science, but in fact, the state of the two, or the boundary between the two, is actually vague. The end of science is theology. Folding the long river of time in half, the super civilization born on the same land collides with the primitive society of the past. Science is theology, but it cannot be understood. Science may be limited by the times, but what limits theology is always human imagination. At this moment, Yingshu and Madara looked at the blooming fire in the air together. The pieces of rubble scattered and fell with extreme light. The night sky was lit up, and the bright moon was hanging high, but at this moment, it seemed like daylight. This moment, Yingshu forgot about the battle. His mind was in turmoil. If a person really has the ability to destroy everything, then what is the meaning of his existence? Does ethics still have any constraints on this person? Are those laws that are made by force still necessary? The devil and the hero. If the hero is defeated and the devil rules everything, then when this rule lasts for countless centuries, the boundary between the devil and the hero. That's too far off. The occupational disease of the major student came back, and Yingshu sighed a little. Retracting his gaze, Yingshu looked down at Madara in the distance. There was only a 217 meters long Senju broadsword between them. For the Eternal Eye and the Rinnegan, this distance is nothing. Iki could see the surprise on Madara's face. He must not have expected that he was so confident just now. Yes, this is the eye technique of the Rinnegan that he finally came up with after staying at home for many years. In the original time and space, this move was launched continuously, and an entire ninja coalition was wiped out. The combined efforts of the shadows were no match for Madara with these two eyes. And now, he is reduced to scum. Iki couldn't help but feel a little sorry for Madara, being used by Black Zetsu for a lifetime. Huh? Black Zetsu? Iki's expression gradually became strange. He thought of something. Of course he did not ignore the existence of Black Zetsu, but just now, the flash of inspiration made him seem to figure out something. About Orochimaru. Kakashi went to Raichi Cave to repair. It seems that it was Orochimaru who guided him. At that time, Orochimaru seemed to have opened his third eye. Kakashi is now looking for Nagato. Orochimaru is guiding Kakashi. Iki's right eye began to twitch wildly. This is not an eye spasm. Are you kidding? How could he have an eye spasm in sage mode? Question mark? This is a no-man. The left eye twitches and the right eye twitches. The chrysanthemum opens. Something bad is going to happen. So, the one who wants the Rinnegan has always been Orochimaru. No, Orochimaru's goal has never changed. Orochimaru may have the perspective and ability of the past, but now he is still pursuing the secret of the Rinnegan. It's always Orochimaru who is causing trouble. Iki muttered to himself. This attracted the attention of Madara, who was far away. Madara narrowed his eyes. He didn't hear clearly, nor did he see what Iki just muttered. But he didn't take advantage of Iki's absent-minded state to continue the attack. The game in the battle just now belonged to the battle. The previous sneak attack in the barrier was also a play linked to bad taste. Madara actually has a certain feeling of devotion towards this junior with the blood of Uchiha and Senju. This junior who is somewhat similar to that guy. Yes. In the original time and space, Madara didn't love anyone except Hashirama, and he only showed mercy to Hashirama, but that was only because Hashirama looked like Izuna, and had the same straightforwardness as him. But now Madara's feeling of devotion towards Ikki is different. Ikki was once the most promising candidate for Spokesperson and the best chess piece in Madara's eyes. Warm reminder, if you can't find the book title, you can try searching for the author. Maybe he just changed his name. But this old man, Ikki, never followed Madara's script. So Madara had no choice but to activate Nagato in advance and adopt plan B, do it yourself. What you can't get will always be restless. In Madara's eyes, Ikki is the little guy he can't get. Madara just waited quietly. He was a little curious about what Ikki was thinking about now. At this moment, Ikki has stopped mumbling. All guesses have gone underground, and our psychological activities, such advanced Raichido Senjutsu and forbidden techniques prove that Orochimaru's future perspective at least extends to Boruto. No, in this time and space, it can't be calculated that way. Ikki's brain began to work in overload. Since it involves the future, the most important thing is the time node. It is important when Orochimaru's future perspective is opened, and it is also important when Orochimaru opens the future perspective. The past changes the future. The node of Orochimaru's change. Ikki raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have caught the key word. Change. Or rather, betrayal. If Orochimaru in this time and space did not have a future perspective, it seems that he would have become Hokage. He was angry about this for a long time at that time. As a result, Orochimaru later rebelled, and his series of anti-snake plans at that time came to nothing. Orochimaru came back to change something. It must be like this. Then the person he wanted to change the most was Shizu. Ikki remembered the little note from the future. Be careful of Shizu. This made him suddenly realize, as if he had been enlightened. Everything seemed to be suddenly clear. The logic is this: if time cannot be traveled, and the dragon veins and the little turtle do not exist, then the plot of this time and space must not be like it is now. Orochimaru may become Hokage, and then the story will be different. In order to get Orochimaru out of office, Ikki had made a crazy plan at that time. He wants to help Minato to the top. He wants to let the name of the Golden Inch shine throughout the ninja world. If Minato can't be helped, he will directly help Obito to the top. Don't ask, it's just Uchiha's bullshit. Ikki can still recall his plan at that time. It started from returning to Konoha to settle accounts with Jinzo. On that day, under that big tree, he and Fugaku had an agreement. Then, under the deep cooperation with Uchiha, Shizu will definitely thrive and grow healthily. According to Ikki's theory, that the main Gekko limited eye power has a certain relationship with DNA, the problem of Katamatsu-kami appearing will definitely not be a big problem. Then Orochimaru will become a tool man, and then Ikki's entrepreneurial plan can be perfectly implemented. But the problem now is that something seems to have happened in the future, causing Orochimaru to break free from the shackles of Katamatsu-kami, and then return to an earlier time node, calling the wind and rain as he pleases. No. Ikki frowned. After his mind was opened, he could draw inferences from one instance to another. The future Orochimaru may not have broken free from the shackles of Katamatsu-kami, but the Orochimaru who has inherited the future now has not inherited the Katamatsu-kami illusion of the original time and space. So he has gained power, but he still wants to harm the ninja world. There is no doubt about it. Ikki clapped his hands. Don't think about it anymore. That's it. Ikki hated this brain-burning feeling. He was tired. Don't think about it anymore. Anyway, Orochimaru is definitely the enemy. Ikki looked up at Madara and took a deep breath. Madara didn't say anything either, just waiting for Ikki's next words. 1 second. 2 seconds. A second. Ikki finally spoke. Do you want to keep fighting? Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. Chapter 261 Obito. I don't believe it. At this moment, On the battlefield between Obito and Orochimaru, Obito has released the state of Imperial Self, and his body shape has returned to normal. Don't get me wrong, the number 2 Toad Sage of Myaboki Mountain is not that weak, and he would not use up the Senjutsu chakra that has been stored for so long in just a few minutes of fighting. Ikki's Senjutsu seal only stores its own energy, and then mobilizes it when needed, directly merging it with physical energy and spiritual energy to become Senjutsu chakra. But in Obito's case, what he stores is directly Senjutsu chakra, which does not need to be transformed or unsealed, and can be used at any time. Obito is now 176 centimeters tall and his weight is unknown, but it is estimated to be a standard healthy weight of 75-80 kilograms. Of course, if you count the 2 Toad Sages on his shoulders, this weight may be even higher. Yes. Jiraiya's half-baked sage mode is no longer worthy of the 2 Toad Sages fighting together. Now the number 1 spokesperson of Myaboki Mountain is Uchiha Obito, codename Sage Dalar. Orochimaru, you are so arrogant, aren't you afraid of causing a war between our 2 sage lands? Obito shouted coldly in a serious and second-year manner. Give up. As long as I'm here, you can't get through this level. Obito is very handsome at this moment. In his eyes, he is not only protecting Konoha, but also the dignity of the entire Myaboki Mountain. Orochimaru's rich Senjutsu chakra cannot be faked. It is the same as Kakashi's, but it is countless times more concentrated. It is extremely disgusting. This guy must be the spokesperson of Ryochi Cave. Exactly. Gamakota said that the scars on his face were caused by the snakes in Ryochi Cave, so let's settle this grudge together. At this time, Orochimaru had torn off the disguise on his face, with snake pupils, purple eyeshadow, double horns on his head, but no legs, replaced by a snake body. This is obviously not a simple sage mode. Orochimaru at this time is more like a snake man than a sage. But he did not show any attacking posture. She just stood quietly in front of Obito, staring at him, or rather, she was looking at Obito's manger key. The kid's father, this guy, isn't he right? Sage Shima called his wife. Well, such a huge amount of Senjutsu chakra. If he doesn't have a similar method to little Obito, then there is only one possibility. Sage Fukasaku said in a deep voice. He, with a human soul, entered the bodies of those big snakes in the Ryochi Cave. How is this possible? Sage Shima was very surprised. How could that old woman allow this to happen? Look, you always don't believe me. Isn't this already happening? The 2 great sages were about to quarrel. At this time, Orochimaru spoke. You and I are not enemies, Obito. Obito was unmoved. I don't believe it. You will believe it. Orochimaru smiled slightly and spread his hands. Because you are the child of prophecy. You have been training in Myaboki Mountain for 2 years. Aren't you waiting for the person who will make you the child of prophecy? As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Obito and the 2 great sages instantly became extremely shocked. Orochimaru seemed to have foreseen this situation, and his tone remained unchanged. Now, I'm here, right in front of you. Why can't you try to believe me? This. Obito felt a little numb, and the 2 great sages also had worries in their eyes. Could it be that a traitor appeared in Myaboki Mountain? I still don't believe it. Obito's position was a little shaken, but not too much. You, look at yourself. You don't look like a human being. I'm waiting for a human, not a snake. Well, that's it. I can't be wrong. Anyway, you, Orochimaru, are not some ordinary person. The second person who can't stand the brain burning and messing around has appeared. Obito refused to cooperate. Warm reminder, if you can't find it by searching the title of the book, you can try searching the author, maybe just change the name. But Orochimaru is also highly educated. Not only did he not rush, but he showed a very tolerant attitude. You don't actually need to be so hostile to me. Obito, think about it carefully. So far, I haven't hurt anyone, isn't it? Obito frowned when he heard it. He thought about it carefully. It seems, it really is raw. Orochimaru did invade Konoha, and was indeed judged as a traitor. But, Orochimaru continued, think about it carefully. When you returned from Tsunagakure, who was the successor to Hokage, announced by the Sandaime, it must be said that the word successor to Hokage by Orochimaru touched Obito's heart. He still remembered that when he heard Jiraiya say that Orochimaru had betrayed at Miyaboki Mountain, he was sad for a long time. Because when they were young, the three of them were saved by Orochimaru, and he also gave them a scroll that seemed very precious at that time. The road to the rise of the three people also unfolded. Now, after Orochimaru said that, it seems. But Obito is not such a person without a standpoint. Tell me your purpose, Orochimaru. Obito pretended to be calm, and this action made the two sages on his shoulders breathe a sigh of relief. My purpose is actually not complicated. Orochimaru smiled slightly. I need the nine tails. Obito made a seal. Ninjutsu, great fire extinguishing. At the same time, Kakashi, with the Byakugan and the support of the Sage Mode, Kakashi quickly locked on Nagato's position. An unexpected place. If Kakashi hadn't discovered it with his own eyes, he probably wouldn't have guessed it in his life. That flower shop. 2 months ago, the three of them had followed and almost fought with Pain. That was the former root ninja. Her real identity was most likely the flower shop that their senior sister had taken over. In the past 2 months, Iki had the root keep a close eye on this place, which forced Konan to disguise herself for 2 months. But when Kakashi arrived, the roots that were monitoring this place were already lying dead. Of course, Pain didn't sit in the flower shop and wait for people to come. It was in the secret base under this flower shop. Kakashi sneaked in quietly, but when he found Pain, half of Pain's body had turned black. Kakashi didn't know what black zetsu and white zetsu were, so he rushed in without saying a word, but found that Pain was ridiculously strong in this state. Helplessly, Kakashi could only choose to use all his strength. The three giant heads of the root have different immortal arts, and their respective ways of mastering them are not very orthodox. Iki made an immortal seal, and Obito made a flesh meat storage of energy. As for Kakashi, his method is his great treasure, the chakra. Kakashi directly summoned the chakra that was living in the dragon cave and eating and drinking for free, and then entered the state of human and body unity. White hair exploded, and the lightning blade was also fused together. But even so, Kakashi found that this half-black Pain seemed to have something. After a fierce battle, Kakashi figured out the flaws of this half-black Pain. But his immortal chakra is almost gone. Only 40% is left. 30% is used by himself, and 30% is accidentally sucked away. So, Kakashi made a prompt decision and summoned support. But, he summoned support, and the next moment, Pain ran away. Kakashi was so anxious that he was about to chase him, but he found that the person standing behind him seemed a little strange. Long time no see, Kakashi-kun. The voice was familiar to Kakashi, and the person in front of him was also familiar to Kakashi, and even quite familiar. But this was the most strange thing. Because Kakashi turned his head and saw that it was not someone else, but Orochimaru. Warm reminder, in order to facilitate everyone's book selection, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 262. I'm very pleased. Kakashi. Orochimaru. Teacher. When Kakashi first saw Orochimaru, the complexity in his heart was 100 times more complicated than that of Obito. His Thunderblade technique was developed by Orochimaru with his help. His Ryuchidan Ninjutsu was also taught by Orochimaru. Even the first lightning release ninjutsu he learned came from Orochimaru's scroll. When Kakashi knew that Orochimaru had betrayed him, the knot in his heart can be imagined. And now, when he faced this man alone, this S-rank traitor of Konoha, Kakashi actually found that the knife in his hand was a little heavy. I'm relieved that you can still call me teacher. Kakashi, Orochimaru said with a smile, just like when he taught Kakashi the Thunderblade technique 3 years ago. But Kakashi still took an offensive posture. Sorry, teacher Orochimaru. I have to stop you. Kakashi seemed firm, but in fact his heart was extremely complicated. There are many aspects to this complicated mood. First, the teacher-student relationship made Kakashi worried. Kakashi also had many doubts in his heart. He always felt that there was something wrong with teacher Orochimaru's attack on Konoha with Pain this time. And why did the adult he summoned end up with Orochimaru? Of course, the most important thing. As a member of the old team, Kakashi did not think that fighting Orochimaru to the death was a rational choice. He only had 40% of his Ninjutsu chakra left. I can't beat him. Think of a way to leave the flying thunder god mark on him and then call Yingshu. But he should be able to notice it. How about delaying for a while? That's not good. Kakashi has already started to plan his escape route. He has a smoke bomb in his pocket, which is enough to complete the number 1 tactic. The question now is whether he can leave mark on Orochimaru before he runs away. Before you choose to take action, Kakashi, I want to ask you a question. Orochimaru obviously saw through Kakashi's little thoughts. The smile on his face remained unchanged and even became gentler. This made Kakashi tense up. Please ask. Kakashi was holding back his ultimate move. As an assassin, as one of the 3 giants of the route, and as a member of the old trio, Kakashi has a trump card in his hand. The location is at the 7 o'clock direction of Orochimaru, about 2.7 meters above the ground. There is the flying thunder god mark he just left. Kakashi is confident that he can teleport before the brain releases nerve electricity to control the body, or before the instinctive reaction is triggered. He is not sure that he can take down Orochimaru, but his goal is to leave mark on Orochimaru and then run away, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Orochimaru did not speak. He just looked at Kakashi quietly. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Kakashi can't hold it anymore. He wants to wait for the moment when Orochimaru speaks and take advantage of him to relax his vigilance and make a perfect sneak attack. But how do you respond if you don't speak? 5 seconds passed and Orochimaru still smiled and said nothing. Kakashi was a little discouraged. He felt that his intention seemed to have been discovered. He raised his hands. You ask Orochimaru. I give up. Route team number 4 tactic. Retreat to advance. Kakashi used this tactic once when he was surrounded by AO in the mist and shadow battlefield, and it worked wonders. But facing Orochimaru, you've already told me the answer, kid. Orochimaru smiled slightly and signaled Kakashi with his eyes. Kakashi unknowingly followed Orochimaru's gaze and saw the location of his flying thunder god mark. Warm reminder, to facilitate everyone's book selection, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. There, a small snake appeared at some point, spitting out its tongue, as if sniffing the ground. Then Kakashi discovered that his flying thunder god mark was transferred to the little snake. You made the right choice. Orochimaru's body slowly melted. This was just a body. I need you to make the same choice at the critical moment. This is very important, Kakashi. Orochimaru disappeared. Kakashi was left alone with 3 small question marks on his forehead. Kakashi shook his head. After being stunned for 2 full minutes, he released his second stage of Sage Mode and sent his sacral muscles back to the Raichi cave to absorb natural energy. So, forget it. Let's find Iki first. Kakashi is smarter than Obito. The matter is too confusing, but his way of dealing with it is more direct than Obito. Find Iki. A moment later, on the other side, at the Susanoo battlefield, 2 Susanus were wrestling, the thousand-handed sword colliding with the samurai sword. Madara's eyes were full of madness. Even though he couldn't feel the existence of his body, he enjoyed the battle now. Come on. Dance. The blue Susanoo warrior exerted his strength and forced the black-clad general to retreat. He immediately took a step forward and then slashed at the upper general. Boom. The general blocked with his sword in both hands, and the manic energy exploded. In the battle on the macro level, the power generated by each collision could not be measured with ordinary eyes. Yingshu felt some pressure. Madara, with a body of the Earth reincarnation, has unlimited chakra and pupil power. This is nothing. In a sense, Iki is also infinite here. His shadow body in the wet bone forest can circle the Hokage building several times hand in hand. Moreover, the infinite mana of Uchiha Madara is also limited. He can never exceed the upper limit of what he can do now. Skills can be released unlimitedly, but the power cannot be increased unlimitedly. But even so, Madara's combat experience is much stronger than Iki. Especially his proficiency in Susanoo, and the pupil power of the Rinnegan is higher than that of the Eternal Eye. Iki can feel it. His powerful general has a power limit that definitely exceeds Uchiha Madara's perfect form Susanoo. But Uchiha Madara fought him to pieces without learning his powerful would release. Isn't it ridiculous? The victory was still his. Iki suddenly felt that he was a loser. He had spent a lot of money, but was suppressed by others with technology. He was annoyed. Madara was getting crazier and crazier as the battle went on. But Iki had no intention of fighting anymore. It was probably a futile attempt to seal Madara with dirty tricks. Although this guy looked like a madman, he was probably a fool in his heart. For a fool like Hashirama, he could just stick his butt out and use Hydro Resto, but for Madara, he might be able to stick his butt out faster. Damn old man. I can't waste time, Iki muttered, and then the mighty general exerted his strength suddenly, forcing the Susanoo warriors to retreat in the same way, and then suddenly took a big step back. Madara's advantage lies in his combat experience and the Rinnegan power that is much higher than Iki's. But Iki also has advantages. If the advantage is all with Madara, then he would have run away. Even if you apologize now, I will not let you go, Madara. Iki's advantage lies in the fairy technique. If you waste time, I'm afraid that little Orochimaru will be born. Fairy seal, 100%, unlock. Yin seal, 100%, unlock. Blood conversion, chakra to eye power, open. Yingshu put his hands together and there was a snap. The three energies merged quickly and moved frantically. Here it comes. Immortal technique, true thousand hands. Warm reminder, if you can't find the title by searching, you can try searching the author. Maybe he just changed his name. Chapter 263 Breaking and Counter-Breaking. At this moment, Konoha, 30 kilometers away, felt the tremors. The villagers of Konoha have already evacuated to the outskirts of Konoha, and the Konoha Guard and the Jounin squad are maintaining order. But at this moment, everyone looked in another direction. The tremors came from there, and many people fell down due to the aftershocks. Children cried loudly, and even the dogs raised by the villagers kept barking. There, a huge monster rose from the ground. The center of the battlefield. The magnitude has reached 7.5. The earth trembled, and the surging energy gathered into shape. The bamboos intertwined with each other, and condensed together to hold up the majestic general. A giant Buddha stood between heaven and earth. This Buddha is about 890 meters tall, with eyes wide open and arms half raised, with large swords on his hands, like an angry Buddha showing anger, or like a wild boar stabbing a wild boar. This Buddha has a black triangular crystal between his eyebrows, and Yingshu is suspended in it, with his hands around his chest. This Buddha is wearing a black cassock, with 998 hands behind him, and 998 short-handled large swords on his 998 hands, and his body is nearly several meters long. Fairy lore powerful equipment Susanoo Buddha. Yingshu is high above, and he can even see Konoha, which is not far away. But his eyes are just staring at Madara, who is a kilometer away. Don't bully the honest man, Madara. Otherwise, if the honest man really wants to kill you, you won't even have the room to resist. Yingshu said this, and felt a little hot on his face. It's not because he's too thin-skinned, but because he's a little overloaded now. Excuse me, Iki is 14 years old. Although he's tall, he's not even old enough to drink. It's not a big deal to have so much power in his body at the moment. The key is to fuse and react the three powers, and then release them. His body is like a reactor. It has to carry so much energy, react, and release it. The load of just 3 kinds of energy on the body is so great. The nuclear fusion below. Oh, I can only wait for the 6 paths mode. Iki only gave himself 8 points for his performance. 1 point deducted for not being able to do it with ease. 1 point deducted for not being as tall and big as Hashirama's 1000 meter Buddha. In short, he is elegant, but not strong enough, but he has room for improvement. Did you fuse Susanoo with Hashirama's true 1000 hands? Really? Madara sighed, shook his head, and finally chuckled. This laugh has a lot of meaning. Uchiha and Senju, when they combine, they can obtain everything in the universe. I have spent my entire life to obtain this power. Madara sighed, looking up at the nearly 1 kilometer tall Susanoo. The murderer Sora is enough, and it has the spirit of my Uchiha clan, but your magic is not as good as Hashirama's, kid. He actually provoked. Iki didn't respond, and prepared to attack. And Madara, he put his hands together, his black spiky hair flew up, and Susanoo actually did the same action as him, sheathing his hair, and putting his hands together. Come, let me see which is stronger, your power of Uchiha and Senju combined into one, or my Sage's Eye, that has evolved to the extreme. Uchiha and Senju, when combined, can achieve everything. But in Madara's concept, the power of Uchiha will always be greater than that of Senju. He never says Senju and Uchiha, he only says Uchiha and Senju. The piece of meat bitten off from Ashirama allowed him to evolve his eyes into the samurai. But the Turkutan is a catalyst, a key. The eyes that have really evolved to the extreme are always the eyes that belong to Uchiha. If your Senju clan transplants the Sharingan, can you achieve everything? Madara is very stubborn, even a little crazy. Ikki understood, but it seemed that he didn't understand. In his ears, what Madara said roughly meant, if you are my brother, come and chop me, then I will not be polite. Ikki also put his hands together. Ninjutsu, top Buddha. The Buddha started, 998 giant hands, 998 swords, launched sanctions. Ikki wanted to know now. Madara, who has no would release, no ninetales, and only Susanoo, can stop 998 swords. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Just because you are not afraid of death, because of your Earth reincarnation? As Madara said, this is the power of all sentient beings. The sword was like a strong wind. 300 meters away, the wind pressure actually scraped some chakra from the stable Susanoo. But Susanoo remained unmoved, with his hands clasped together. Madara's eyes were tightly closed. He didn't dodge or evade. I don't know what he was doing. 200 meters. It seems a long distance, but in front of the giant Buddha, it's just a movement 100 meters. The distance in the blink of an eye. Madara suddenly opened his eyes. But Ikki frowned. He suddenly felt the incomparable surge of pupil power. He suddenly realized. Madara didn't dodge, not because he was not afraid of death, because of the Earth reincarnation. Yes. Heavenly way. Shinra Tensei. Madara spoke with a powerful voice. Compared to pain, he was less cynical and painful, but infinitely more domineering and crazy. With Susanoo as the carrier, the power of his pupils bloomed, resisting everything. Blast. The endless repulsive force bloomed, and the ground under Susanoo's feet set off waves, one layer after another. But this couldn't stop Ikki's broadsword. 998 The broadsword chopped into the repulsive circle, but was not bounced away, but directly covered it. But it couldn't get any closer. The closer to Susanoo, the more violent the repulsive force on the broadsword. Ikki's eyes were wide open, and chakra was pouring in crazily. At this stage, whoever loses power is the loser, the weak one. Shinra Tensei, the first eye power of the Rinnegan. The corresponding and completely opposite jutsu is Manjutsu Tensei. It is also a regular eye jutsu of the Rinnegan, but Manjutsu Tensei is the core of another jutsu. Chibaku Tensei. The Six Paths sage use the Six Paths level Chibaku Tensei to seal Kaguya. Strictly speaking, this jutsu is the supreme eye power of the Rinnegan. But now, Madara reversed this core, and the gravity matched by Shinra Tensei is enough to use Chibaku Tensei once. Ikki died instantly. Madara, this old man, has laid so much groundwork for this moment. This guy has been faking his death for so long, and has been staying at home for so long. How could he not review the battle of that day? This Shinra Tensei against the thousand-armed Buddha. I'm afraid Madara has been dreaming about this moment every day after opening the samurai. No wonder this guy is so excited every time he sees a Shirama. It turns out that he has figured out how to break the move. Don't say it. This layer of turtle shell, Ikki really can't cut through it. Seeing that the fairy chakra is about to run out, Ikki starts to make seals with both hands, one after another. He has two ways to counter the move. 1. Show the trump card, reverse the fairy shadow clone army of the spiritual wetbone forest, and force to continue sailing. Show another trump card. In the original time and space, in Naruto and the Ninetales developed a supergravity mode, based on the principle of solar nuclear fusion. In exchange for a short-term and high-explosive ultimate power, but at the cost of losing the Ninetales. Ikki lamented the twists and turns of the technology tree in the ninja world, and at the same time, felt sad for him. Sacrificing the Ninetales, it can only be exchanged for an extremely short-term power that can barely compete with Otsutsuki Aishiki for a few minutes. So why don't you learn dust release? Why don't you study the deuterium-tritium reaction? It's just that the fusion of heavy nuclear atoms produces neutrons that can burst out energy. What's so difficult about something that he, a liberal arts student, can do? Iki, get ready to show your ultimate move. It may not be appropriate to show it now. After all, the Sage of Six Paths may be staring at him. If he has committed too many sins, his seal will be insufficient. But Iki doesn't want to waste time. It may be that Madara, the sixth old man, made him hate his past. A real man is born between heaven and earth. How can he be depressed and look at other people's faces? The seals of Iki's hands are ready. However, just when he is ready to throw away his martial ethics and give up his sword to pursue nuclear weapons, Madara collapsed. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, The Ninja World is Too Small. Please read this patiently before considering whether to curse. Save your life. Madara collapsed. It wasn't that his body after the Earth reincarnation couldn't handle such a powerful force. Nor was it that he collapsed because of Iki's domineering aura. What collapsed was his eyes. The purple waves fell like fragments, and puffs of white smoke rose from Madara's body. Plop plop, the heart is beating. The blood is boiling. Madara broke away from the Susanoo without saying a word, and his Susanoo rose up. While retreating madly, he looked up to the sky and roared. Ha 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 ha. This feeling. This feeling. This feeling. This feeling. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Madara laughed so crazily, he was resurrected. Iki stopped the nuclear energy conversion and let Madara leave. He could use dust release to force nuclear fusion. He tried it in the wet bone forest and the success rate was close to 75%. It was the chance of turning a bicycle into a motorcycle. Don't forget, a 75% chance for a guy is often infinitely close to 100%. In fact, under the lock of Iki's pupil power, about 200 plus chakra swords have turned transparent. That is dust release, but it is not just dust release. The dust escape contained a pseudo-hydrogen escape after the reaction. The hydrogen and oxygen mixture had been stripped away by the dust escape, and deuterium and tritium had been formed. They were acting with the dust escape to produce the neutron energy that Iki wanted. Iki was not sure it would be 100% successful, but 200 plus broadswords were equivalent to 200 plus deuterium tritium reactors. It was equivalent to 200 plus true hydrogen escapes with slightly smaller equivalents. Regarding true hydrogen escape, Iki had never measured the specific power. His imaginary enemy had always been the Ten-Tails. Iki had estimated that it would not be a problem for 3 of Iki's units to destroy the Ten-Tails. The Susanoo energy that had separated from Madara had dissipated. It only takes half of the 200 reactors to fully start, and he can crush this place into slag. Iki is not sure if Madara can avoid the circle of power, but he should be able to withstand it, and he doesn't have to stick his butt up. But the situation now is, his chakra is not enough. He can detonate, and he can withstand it, but he can't save Obito and Kakashi who rushed over. EIG. At this moment, on both sides of the battlefield, Obito, whose body has returned to shape, and Kakashi, whose body is full of lightning, rushed over from the left and right. So why are these two guys rushing over? Iki is depressed, and he is about to kill the last boss. Catch Orochimaru quickly. This guy is very bad. His target is the Nine-Tails in Master's belly. Obito rushed all the way and shouted. He had already released the Sage mode, and his clothes were tattered. In front of him, a medium-sized white phosphorus snake was madly wriggling, heading straight for Madara. Come here. Yingshu stood on the thousand-armed Buddha, and shouted at the top of his voice. Come here. Orochimaru. Let's put Orochimaru aside for now. Wait until my reaction pile is completely withdrawn before moving. Obito suddenly stopped, looked at Orochimaru, then looked at Yingshu, without using Kamu, and ran straight to Yingshu. Kakashi also rushed over. He was not chasing anyone, he was just running to report the situation. Yingshu finally breathed a sigh of relief, bit his thumb, and with a wave of summoning, another Yingshu came to meet him. 1 Yingshu represents 1 unit of the immortal seal. 15-20% of the storage, which can roughly make up the immortal seal. Yingshu silently took out a few more small tubes, and the Hashirama cells inside were enough for him to transfer chakra and eye power that matched him. It looks a bit awkward. His skills are not as good as others, and he has to take drugs after the fight. But in fact, the current Yingshu has actually reached the extreme of what a time traveler can do without the golden finger. Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid being unable to find it next time. He has achieved the eternal manger key and can use it perfectly. The Samsarai requires the chakra of Indra and Ashura. The 6 paths power is actually a special limited blood inheritance. As for physique, the immortal body still has room to grow, but it takes time. However, if you want to achieve chakra freedom, Hashirama cells can completely solve the problem. As for technique, he has thoroughly studied the nature of chakra, from macroscopic strikes to microscopic reactions, and then to atomic level reactions. He has done it all. The blood limit has been deciphered, the true hydrogen escape has been successfully developed, and certain results have been achieved in practice. As long as the reaction process continues to be optimized, it will be a real nuclear weapon. Iki boasted 2 months ago. As long as he wants, the ninja world can be nuclearized in minutes. That's not a lie, but the problem is, there are more than one person who can make the ninja world nuclearized. Let's not talk about those Otsutsuki and the like. The Shippuden hasn't started yet, so there's no need to worry about it. What really worries Iki is Madara. Yes, worry. Madara, who was resurrected early and possessed the Rinnegan and would release. In the battle just now, Iki's worries became more and more profound. He is superior to Madara in eye power. He is also superior to Madara in fighting skills. Even if Madara masters the ninjutsu and unites everything, on paper, he, Otsutsuki, is really not as strong as Madara. This has nothing to do with the daily self-deprecation of an old man. Objectively speaking, if Iki had not developed hydrogen escape, he would not be as good as Madara. Putting aside the Samsarai, he can do Susanoo Butsu, and Madara, who has the ninjutsu chakra, can't do it. Iki took a deep breath, his expression gradually gloomy. His sensitive shoulder pierced the cells between the 4 pillars. Compared with 2 years ago, he can transfer energy without changing his expression. Iki is weighing the pros and cons. He was not upset about missing the chance to defeat the boss because of Kakashi and Obito. After all, Madara could open Susanoo without eyes, and with Madara's combat experience, he might even go thousands of meters underground. The biggest nemesis of Hydro Style is the air raid shelter. So, we can only activate Iki number 1 in advance. Iki sighed. After 2 years of research and development, the combination of science and magic has begun to show results. Iki saw another way. This is also the reason why he didn't dig his eyes out directly from Nagato. When it comes to bloodline, Iki believes that he has lost. But he had long given up relying on bloodline to get ahead. There is no need. Although the power of the 6 paths is tempting, Iki has never had the habit of pinning his hopes on the will of others. Or, he has long been prepared for the 6 paths sage not to give him the yin and yang power, or even to become an enemy of the 6 paths sage and directly snatch it. After all, a 6th path sage always has to keep 1 or 2 trump cards. Hey. Obito jumped from the camo space, and before the slipper from Kushina hit him, it landed safely beside Iki. Iki glanced at Obito with a complicated look. Because this guy's his trump card, to be precise, the card table. Obito. Iki said in a deep voice, I have a tactic called Neutron Energy Shadow Clone Force 141. Forget it, you send the people in the camo space away first. I have to use your camo space. Hydrogen release has advantages and disadvantages. Before it was fully developed, the firepower attack range and range were the problems that Iki had always found difficult to solve. Now, he has inadvertently developed hydrogen release with his simple feeling, and it is no longer a combined ninjutsu, nor is it a false blood inheritance limit. Iki has solved the firepower clamping range, and he has solved the most important steps, such as compression and chakra equivalent. Compression is not a problem, and the amount of chakra can be accumulated over time by using multiple shadow clones. The problem is, the range of firepower has exceeded the maximum range that Yingshu can do. and Yingshu found that he could not solve the problem of range in this situation. It can never be solved. Even if the Six Paths Sage comes, it can't be solved. This is an insurmountable gap. After all, the ninja world is too small. Warm reminder, the problem of logged-in users saving bookshelves across devices has been corrected. If it still cannot be saved, please remember the contents of the bookshelf first, clear the cookies of the browser, and then log in again, and add it to the bookshelf. Chapter 265 Old Men. Take Master's wife out of the Camus space? That won't do. Iki. Obito got excited when he heard it. I'm telling you, I found out Orochimaru's purpose. He told me himself. His target is the Ninetales, which is in Master's wife's belly. It's hiding in Master's wife. Anyway, he wants the Ninetales. Obito looked serious and very cold. But it must be said that after losing weight, Obito has become much more energetic. A lively young man. Iki did not respond, but turned his head to look at Kakashi, who followed Obito with the flying thunder god mark on his body. What happened to you? He ran away. Kakashi spread his hands. When I found that guy, half of his body was black. I thought he had learned your technique. I was shocked. His ability is also weird. It feels like he can do everything, and it feels like. Anyway, I just found his broken mark, and he ran away. Then, Kakashi said and looked at Obito. Then, I saw Orochimaru. It was Orochimaru again. Iki frowned. Did you two fight? What happened? No, but he now has my flying thunder god mark on him. Kakashi didn't tell everything, but looked at the knife in his right hand. The blade was engraved with the flying thunder god mark. His twin Ragas have been modified to have the ability to imprint the flying thunder god mark with lightning chakra. At the same time, with the twin thunder blades in hand, he can still clearly feel his mark. After all, the members of the Root 3 are not stubborn people. Kakashi pursues the ultimate speed, but he is not on the same path as Minato and Tobirama. The latter two will tend to be more tactical and operational during the battle. Kakashi used to be like this, but now he believes that the straight line segment between 2 points is the shortest. The right choice. Kakashi has been thinking about this sentence. Obito said that Orochimaru's target is the Ninetales, but he always feels that it is not that simple. He took the initiative to put Flying Thunder God on himself. Is it a trap, or? Kakashi is a little worried. In the end, what should be done? It looked like both Hideki and Obito were going to kill Orochimaru, but he felt that Orochimaru was a friendly force. So annoying. Are you okay, Kakashi? Hideki saw Kakashi's dilemma, and he felt that it was definitely related to Orochimaru, which made Hideki a little curious. The three giant heads of the root, the iron triangle of the root, the relationship between the three of them can be said to be a copper wall and an iron wall. If Orochimaru wants to attack from inside, it is not impossible, unless Shisu opens the manger key at the age of 8. It's okay. Kakashi replied absent-mindedly. Anyway, he knows that he has my mark on his body. Let's see what happens later. Kakashi still couldn't make a decision. Hideki raised his eyebrows, but didn't say anything. It was the same sentence again. Unless Shisu opened the manger key at the age of 8 and joined Orochimaru, or was tricked by Orochimaru. Otherwise, he doesn't have to worry about being stabbed in the back. Obito looked at Iki on the left and Kakashi on the right. So, should I let them go or not? He was referring to Kushina and Minato, who were in the Camu space, as well as the dozens of followers. It depends on the situation. Iki moved his shoulders, and the weird feeling disappeared. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Now, his pupil power has been fully restored. The yin seal has also recovered by about 70%. His own chakra and the fairy seal on his right shoulder are full. Shigilin has practiced for 2 days, especially after developing the immortal seal. His yin seal has also broken through the bottleneck. The upper limit is still there, and the speed of injecting chakra into it has become faster. When you fight later, pay attention to a principle. Be sure to protect your own eyes. Yingshu looked into the distance, and due to his line of sight, it was exactly where Madara was. It was not too far, about 3 kilometers. Orochimaru had already merged with Madara, and Heizetsu obviously hadn't caught up yet. Yingshu is still a little confused now. He has two trump cards, one big and one small. The big one is still in production and is in an unfinished stage. That was for the Ten-Tails, or rather, for Kaguya. After all, he is the originator of chakra. Once he loses control, he has to have some means of control. There is a saying that goes, if I lose, there is no need for this world to exist. If the situation really develops to an uncontrollable stage, Iki will not resort to nuclear weapons, but push it. No one will live. And that little trump card. To be honest, Iki doesn't want to use it. Obito's Camu space is infinitely useful, and after learning the Sage mode, the burden on Obito's eyes when Camu is activated is greatly reduced. Iki was also preparing some backup methods inside. Throwing a Iki number 1 into it was really not very particular. And Iki was also wondering now. Madara has already resurrected, why doesn't this Pure Land administrator do anything about it? Hurry up and give me some cheats, so that I can protect the ninja world. Do I have to be beaten half to death, before I can do that? Iki admitted that he was still unwilling to give up, and had some power of greed. After all, who would complain about having too many cheats? Wait. Iki suddenly thought of something. His face changed, he turned his head to look at Obito, and then at Kakashi. The two chosen by the immortal, could they be these two? Lord Madara, the half-human, half-snakeling Jun crawled all the way to Madara's side, respectful and submissive. I'm really sorry. The reincarnation process of the first generation was forcibly destroyed by Iki, and the previously prepared sacrifices have been used up. The first generation's immortal chakra. It's okay. Madara closed his eyes, facing the direction of Iki, and said lightly. He is still in high spirits now. He has unlimited energy after just resurrecting, and the boiling blood drives him. He can't wait to have a hearty battle. The presence of a junior by his side activated Madara's cool attribute. He was arrogant. When Black Zetsu comes, you will have a sacrifice. Although the order is reversed. But to me, it doesn't matter. Just as Iki was waiting, Madara was also waiting. He was waiting for his Samsara to be in place. He was waiting for Hashirama to be reborn, so as to absorb the Shirama Senjutsu chakra. In the battle just now, Iki felt how powerful he was. As for Madara, why didn't he feel Iki's potential, and the upper limit that obviously had not yet been reached? Madara was bellicosity. He was proficient in all combat skills, and his combat awareness was unparalleled. I'm definitely not a reckless man who gets carried away easily. Yes, strictly speaking, Ban is also an old man. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 266. Is that so? Yes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The root triangle jumped all the way and came in front of Madara. There was a mountain with dense forests and lush green cypress branches. Because Madara pretended to be smart when he used Susanoo before, he swung his sword and directly cut the mountain. It was completely bald and black and charred. It really looked like a fighting arena. The surrounding trees were cut into stakes, pretending to be spectators. Iki and the other two formed a triangle formation to face blind Madara and Orochimaru. Madara, with a height of 179 centimeters, was 10 centimeters shorter than Iki, and it was very obvious, even though he was a little taller due to his hairstyle. You surprise me, Madara. Iki put his arms around his chest and looked directly into Madara's eyelids. Madara has no eyes now, but at this level, the existence of eyes actually means more about pupil power. Iki tried it before, when he was practicing illusion resistance. When he closed his eyes, he did lose the ability to capture light, but he could clearly perceive most of the objects around him. Madara is even more powerful. He can use Susanoo without eyes. I don't know what the eyes are for. Damn. Your surprise is justified. Give you enough time, you may be able to catch my shadow, but unfortunately, you don't have much time. Madara put his arms around his chest, raised his head, and looked arrogant. The other Madara was surprised. This guy is kind of cool. He actually has the same hairstyle as the number 2 of Miyaboki Mountain. He has good taste. Wait, he is also Madara. Which Madara? You seem to have misunderstood something. Iki also crossed his arms over his chest, thinking that he was not just pretending, but to make a seal in a subtle way. I thought you would continue to run until you disappeared from my sight. Just like you said, retreating is not shameful. After all, you are facing me, Iki said, but glanced at Kakashi next to him. Kakashi shook his head, indicating that he could not sense the flying thunder god technique. Iki frowned slightly. Kakashi sensed that the thunder god was not flying, so their temporary plan had to be cancelled temporarily. He found that Madara seemed a little conservative now. This was very different from the Shura of the ninja world in his incarnation who challenged the nine-tailed beasts as soon as he was resurrected in the original time and space. Madara at that time also had no eyes, but he dared to face the nine-tailed beasts head on, which was really domineering. And now? He had provoked him for a while, but Madara was still calm. Yingshu really couldn't tell whether he was scared or doing some shady tricks. Heh. Madara shook his head and chuckled. So, you and Hashirama are completely different types, right? I think he's more like you, Madara-sama. Orochimaru beside him suddenly interrupted, and at the same time, two small snakes crawled out of his sleeves, each holding an eyeball in its mouth. Those were 2-3 Magatama. Iki could feel the pupil power inside, very familiar. Madara had used it before. Black Zetsu seems to have appeared. Go. Just when Orochimaru was about to hand the eyes to Madara, Iki suddenly roared and saw a flash of lightning, and Kakashi had already rushed out. The battle began. Lightning release, Shadow Raider. Kakashi used his most handy move, although this move was taught to him by Orochimaru in front of him. Just make sure it works. Lightning turned into electric snakes and rushed towards Madara, but they turned in midair and bit Orochimaru again. Kakashi's target was the two eyes. This judgment was reasonable. Madara was blind now, and it was better for him to continue in this state. Moreover, Kakashi also tried to confirm something in the battle with Orochimaru. That feeling became stronger and stronger. Teacher Orochimaru is most likely a friendly force. Could he have hidden a restriction in these eyes? Will Madara's head explode as soon as he put it in? Did Teacher Orochimaru discover the plan of these guys a long time ago, so he infiltrated the enemy organization early? If that's the case, distraction during a fight is dangerous, and Kakashi paid the price for it. You really practiced hard, Kakashi. Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and read background color in the upper right corner of the page. Orochimaru twisted his body in an extremely strange posture and dodged Kakashi's lightning snake steadily and coquettishly, and at the same time, he swung his arms. Lush snake hand. Hey, shit. Kakashi cursed loudly, retreated with the flying thunder god tactics, and at this time, Madara killed him. Ninjutsu. It was none other than Obito and his clones. The three Obitos lined up and released fire style and wine style toad oil at the same time. Gomen. A huge wave of scorching hot kerosene instantly rushed towards Orochimaru. From the beginning, Obito and Kakashi's mission was to cut off the connection between Uchiha Madara and Orochimaru. And Iki. He has already faced Madara. The output of the immortal seal is 50%, and Iki once again enters the immortal super mode and attacks the blind Madara with a strong attack. What? He has no eyes, so he is so unethical? What a joke. This is Uchiha Madara. Iki's attack is fierce, and his superb physical skills are finally brought into play. The more he fights, the more solemn Iki's expression becomes. At the beginning of his time in Konoha, he pressed the obscene Madara to the ground with a hammer. That was a force that was only slightly stronger than this. Now, Madara has recovered his body, but he has no ninjutsu chakra, and even no eyes. It's like he has changed from an S-class ninja to an S-plus class ninja. His attributes in all aspects have improved a lot. Iki found that he can't completely suppress Madara now. Is this the strength of a single person fighting against the nine-tailed beasts? Iki became more and more envious as he fought. He wanted to have the superb physical skills of Madara, but unfortunately, he didn't seem to have this talent. I said, you know nothing about strength. Madara dodged Iki's black fist lightly, and then he came to Iki's side in an instant, and while mocking, he kneed Iki in the ribs. The attack was so powerful that the tailed beast would be dazed, but Iki gritted his teeth and took it. Not only that, he took the opportunity to turn sideways and grab Madara's ankle. I caught you. Really? Madara's voice suddenly rang out on Iki's other side. The Madara he caught was a would-release clone. Dang. Iki responded calmly and steady like an old dog. He raised his 2 fingers and a bamboo emerged, directly stabbing Madara, who was about to sneak attack him from the side into a hedgehog. Wait. This is still a would release clone. At this time, a blue giant blade emerged from the ground, and it seemed that it was about to stab Iki through the heart. Really? Madara emerged from the ground, wrapped in blue Susanoo, and he seemed to be addicted. Iki had no time to dodge, and was stabbed into a pool of water. This was a water clone. Dang. The real Iki had come behind Madara, wearing a black armored mini Susanoo, and holding his mini thousand hands machete. Boom. Iki's slash was solid. While he defended his title as the #1 old man in the ninja world, he also slapped Madara and his Susanoo, and sent him flying like a ball. Should I send him back to the Pure Land in one go, or pretend that I can't beat the power of the trickster? At this moment, Iki thought quickly in his mind, and he finally chose a safe way. Kill him first. Right eye, jutsu conversion, open. Iki did not leave chakra around Madara. Madara did. Even if his Susanoo dissipates, it is also a product of chakra. Iki only needs to spend twice his pupil power to take this chakra for himself and directly transform it into the technique he wants. Sayonara, got. Iki raised his 2 fingers, and the next moment, boom. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. A generation of owl heroes. Just like that, with a gorgeous instant body, he flashed to the side before the explosion. It seems that there is no way to determine the winner of this contest between the old men. But at this time, Iki and Madara stopped at the same time. They looked in one direction together. There, a red-haired figure with half of his body covered in black was rushing towards this side. Kuro Nagato, here he is. Yingshu raised his eyebrows. Madara smiled. Game time is about to end, kid. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 267, play with you to the end. Madara's voice still echoed in the air. Whoosh, bang. The 2 of them exploded at the same time, and then they collided violently. The instigator was Yingshu, and he did it on purpose. Madara's target was Black Zetsu, but Yingshu's target was to stop Madara. In the immortal super mode, Yingshu's speed was actually much faster than Madara's. Yingshu didn't care about the cost or his image, and hit Madara's chest directly with a headbutt. Does it hurt? Is it good? Is it exciting? Yingshu's head hurt a little, and he was sure that Madara's ribs hurt more. Bang bang bang. Madara was knocked far away, and after a few spins in the air, he adjusted his body shape. He swung his hands, and with a few whooshes, 2 black sticks shot towards Iki. At the same time, Madara symbolically made a seal with his hands. Fire style, Dragon Flame Song Jutsu. Iki's limited eye technique is no longer a secret. Although it is said that seeing that the technique can transform a person's basic ability is cold, don't forget that the ability of Black and White Absolute to collect intelligence is first class. People are afraid of being famous, and pigs are afraid of being strong. This is the reason. Madara is very smart. Dragon Flame Song plus Yin Yang style Black Stick is equivalent to a multi-layered covering attack. Even if Yingshu can lock everything, he can only convert part of it because of his perspective. Who is Yingshu? About his own weaknesses. He already knows everything the enemy can think of. He has been prepared for years for things the enemy can't think of. Ninjutsu. Yingshu squatted on the ground, and chakra surged out crazily. Bamboo world is born. Bamboos broke out of the ground one by one, and no one knows the multi-layer covering method better than Yingshu. Looking around, there were green bamboos everywhere. The black stick and fire escape were instantly submerged by the new bamboo, and the bamboo was still spreading crazily to where Madara was. At the most critical moment, Yingshu directly cut off the road between Madara and Kuro's. The farthest distance in the world is these bamboos. Give up using the pupil technique and switch to wood escape. But you think you can stop me with this? Too naive. The blue Susanoo jumped quickly in the bamboo forest. The huge body was extremely flexible. Madara's Susanoo could be manipulated. It must be said that it was countless times stronger than a guy who could only chop people with a big knife. Yingshu saw it and felt a little envious and jealous. He planned to be a little cruel. Obito. Follow the plan. Iki first yelled, then mobilized his chakra, and the perfect Susanoo appeared directly. Iki has several macro skills, and there are differences in height. His proficiency in wood release is relatively the lowest, so the wood release titan will be shorter. Even with the power suit, he is not as tall as the perfect Susanoo. Iki's perfect Susanoo is much taller than the power suit would release general, and it directly reaches 250 meters. It's not a smart number, but it can give Iki enough vision. Come on, activate his eye technique. I'm going to say this, Madara. If you can touch your Samsara eye one day, I'll fucking fight you. Damn it, I'll shave off this beautiful hair. Iki muttered as he looked at the Susanoo jumping forward madly in the bamboo sea. Madara was very smart. He didn't charge forward with the full form of Susanoo. Iki didn't know if the blind Madara could open it, but as long as he dared to open it, Iki would dare to risk it and blow him up. He still had more than 30 tubes of Masahiro cells in his pocket. At most, he would not use the Sage mode and transform all of them into eye power. Shuriken is also a sword. Susanoo is also made of chakra. Take a deep breath. Iki adjusted his state. Adjusted his eye power. Adjusted his chakra. Opened his eyes. Adjust the sight. Adjust the focus. Aim. Lock. Pupil power is activated. Amarian drawing. Warm reminder, there are switch between simplified and traditional Chinese. Adjust font size, read background color and other functions in the upper right corner of the page, which are suspected of piracy, but the atmosphere is set here. Yingshu can't help it. Boom 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 boom. Due to the sight, bamboos exploded on the spot, and the power of 999 plus detonating tags exploded at the same time. In the original time and space, there were 7 Amaterasu who outlined the sea and released Heifudi. Today, Yingshu has locked his eyes on them and made minefield, and bombed it all the way. The difference is that Itachi's goal is to let go. Even if he touches the second pillar by a little bit, he will be heartbroken. And Yingshu, he is fighting for his own hair. The power of the 6 tails. We'll talk about it later. When Shizu grows up, Orochimaru will use him as a tool to revive the 10 tails and force the 6-tailed sage to surrender. Shizu doesn't listen. Simple, help him find a girlfriend and kidnap her, or threaten the entire Uchiha. Damn, the smell of hot pot is so strong. Anyway, Iki is now showing his cards. He has decided to defeat Madara today. Boom 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 boom. But Iki also predicted Madara's prediction. Madara has a shadow clone, and he also has a shadow clone. Who has more chakra? I still have more than 30 pillar space cells in my hand to play with you. If Iki hadn't been worried that the explosion range was too wide and would kill 1,000 enemies and lose 10,000 of his own, he would have deployed Iki number 1 long ago. Iki and Madara were competing. A fire coverage belt appeared at the distance between Madara and Kurenagato. Madara couldn't get through, and Kurenagato couldn't get through. On the other side, after receiving the order, Obito symbolically threw jutsu at Orochimaru and ran away. He wanted to go to Konoha, find Suna, and first send Kushina and Minato, as well as everyone else inside, out to empty the Kamu space. Then, according to what Iki meant, his Kamu space would be used as a prison. Obito ran away, but Kakashi and Orochimaru were still fighting fiercely. Kakashi had already brought out his treasured sacral muscles and entered the second stage of Sage mode again. He had consumed energy once before, and although Iki helped to replenish his mana, Kakashi's current condition was not good. He estimated that he could only hold on for 10 minutes at most. Yes, 10 minutes. Orochimaru's attack was extremely fierce, so fierce that Kakashi wanted to slap himself. It was a pity that he just thought Orochimaru was a friendly force. Orochimaru attacked madly. Kakashi was defeated. However, just when Kakashi was about to fly away with the Thunder God, fulfilling the professional ethics of a reconnaissance ninja of not fighting, Orochimaru suddenly stopped. The kunai in his hand even stayed in front of Kakashi's eyes. Kakashi was halfway through launching the Thunder God, but Orochimaru just stopped. The twin snake pupils fell on the black Susanoo in the distance. Suddenly, Orochimaru exhaled, and then looked at Kakashi with complicated eyes. It's time, Kakashi. These words seemed like a spell. Kakashi's eyes widened immediately, his thoughts suddenly became extremely stiff, and everything in front of him seemed to be frozen. If Kakashi could continue to think for another second, he would realize that he might have been under an illusion. But the fact is, his thoughts, for the time being, could not reach the next second. A curse seal shaped like 3 megatama suddenly appeared on Kakashi's neck. "I'm sorry to inconvenience you for a while, Kakashi." Orochimaru raised 2 fingers, and Kakashi in front of him followed suit. A moment later, Kakashi's left eye had turned into a snake pupil. He looked into the distance, where Iki on the black Susanoo was still exploding wildly. "Wish me success, Iki-kun. My Sunday." Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Chapter 268 Orochimaru. See, when a person is unable to clearly define his goals, every step he takes will be extremely difficult and full of struggles. Take Iki for example. He had never considered how to put an end to the prematurely resurrected Madara. A head-on battle would definitely not work, with a 40 to 60 chance of winning, and 60% going to the other person. But that was when Madara took back his Samurai. In a head-on battle against the blind Madara, Iki felt that he had a 70% chance of winning. But this was far from enough. This was Madara, and without a 100% chance of winning, he would definitely lose. So he could only use non-head-on battle to solve everything. Iki number 1, also known as Nuclear Peace Envoy number 1, the first generation of hydrogen-style chakra compression creatures. The hydrogen chakra stored in it, without taking into account the qualitative change caused by quantitative change, is equivalent to about 100 trillion detonating tags. It sounds ordinary, only 100 trillion. In the original time and space, Conan's 600 trillion detonating tags could not completely defeat Obito, not to mention Madara who already had ninjutsu immunity. Don't forget that Conan's 60 million detonating tags exploded for a full 10 minutes. Theoretically, the reaction time of Iki number 1 will not exceed 30 seconds, so the instant killing and destructive factor is one of Conan's 10 seconds. In this case, even if the Rinnegan can absorb chakra, Iki feels that it is useless. The Rinnegan can absorb chakra, but it cannot ignore or be immune to chakra. After all, there is an upper limit to the rate at which the Rinnegan absorbs chakra, and this upper limit is very likely to fluctuate due to the complexity of chakra's manifestation. Of course, this argument is just Iki's guess, and has not been specifically proven. So Iki also specially prepared Iki number 1 to prevent his arguments from being bullshit and avoid embarrassing situations. But the key point is, Iki number 1 or Iki number 1, they are not used to deal with Madara. In other words, Iki never thought that Madara would be resurrected early. This is a reason why Iki was entangled just now. People have inertial thinking, and Iki is no exception. Shippuden hasn't started yet, Naruto hasn't been born yet, but Madara has resurrected in advance. Who can he complain to? This indirectly disrupted a series of Iki's plans. Originally, Iki number 1 was prepared for the 10 tails, and Iki number 1 would have to wait another year or so before it could be put into use. In Iki's plan, he should be able to complete the Nuclear Peace Envoy series ninja self-defense system within 30 years. In that case, he wouldn't have to worry about Otsutsuki coming to cause trouble. But now it's different. Otsutsuki hasn't been seen yet, and Madara has resurrected first. And he has to deal with Orochimaru, whose position is unclear. In this situation, where no one knows what his purpose is, Iki is even more worried. In his eyes, Orochimaru's danger index is even higher than Madara's. We can only take it one step at a time. Wait for Obito to come back, and send Madara back to the Pure Land first. Alas. Iki let out a sigh. His eyes are a little sore now. Chakra is transformed into pupil power, and the pupil power then locks and transforms the chakra beside Madara. Consumption is secondary. The key is to stare like this, and it doesn't matter too much. The distance between Madara and Black Zetsu is getting farther and farther with Iki's efforts. Explosions rang one after another, and Madara couldn't stop. Indeed, although Madara now does not have the Rinnegan, he can also be immune to ninjutsu. In the original time and space, the pillar used Amaterasu to burn Madara before Madara got the eye, but was ignored by Madara. He even showed off his muscular body in the lifelike tattoo of Hashirama on his chest. There is still a difference between having the Rinnegan and not having the Rinnegan, and with Ikki's tactical position in Madara's heart, he will not stand still and wait for Black Zetsu to come. Really? It seems that the pressure I put on you before was too great, kid. Madara controlled Susanoo, which was so agile that it kept jumping in the explosion like a dancing male dancer. Black Zetsu was getting farther and farther away. Looking at Madara's face, there was no panic at all. Such a bearing, such a vision. He can't lose his dignity. Oh. Suddenly, Madara felt a breath coming from a distance, which was constantly approaching. It was the partner of this kid, a little white boy. Just now, because of this little white boy and that kid Obito, Ikki stopped attacking. Madara admitted that the situation at that time was indeed very dangerous. The timing of Black Zetsu's resurrection was not perfect, which caused him to almost fall into Ikki's trap. That kid, is he going to take part in this situation? Madara's tone became disdainful. How can someone as lazy as you participate in this battle? But soon, Madara noticed something unusual again. Has he been controlled by Orochimaru? Haha, interesting, but it's a little late. What a pity. But it doesn't matter. Madara doesn't like Orochimaru. He thinks this is a chess piece chosen by his consciousness Heizetsu, and it must be said that Orochimaru's move is really good. Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. It's a pity. If Orochimaru could join his team earlier, control the companions of Ikki earlier, and let Ikki feel what he should. Forget it, the relationship has already been established, and Madara is not a person who dwells on the past. He even feels fortunate. Resurrection, Samsara, collecting tailed beasts, at Tsukuyomi, unlimited Tsukuyomi. A simple plan, a plan without any resistance. In the entire ninja world, there is no one who can make him feel pressured. Even if Hashirama is resurrected, he can only be his tool to absorb the ninjutsu chakra. So, Madara is glad that Ikki has not become a slave to hatred, so at least now, they can still have a hearty battle. I just don't know if this kid will choose to help me, Madara murmured, and then he formed seals with both hands. A wood clone appeared again and summoned Susanoo, but it rushed to kill Kakashi, who was controlled by Orochimaru. I'm beginning to like you a little bit now, Madara shouted, but he was not talking to Ikki, but to Orochimaru. Ikki was stunned at this moment. Of course it wasn't because of Orochimaru, it was because of Kakashi. Damn it. Ikki gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, even though his perception was the weakest of his many abilities, even weaker than his physical skills. But this did not affect his discovery of Kakashi's abnormality at the moment. Orochimaru, are you worthy of White Fang? Ikki simply ignored Madara. At most, let Ikki number 2 take care of it. His pupil power locked onto the blue Susanoo controlled by Madara's clone. Ikki did not dare to cover it with firepower, but used wood style to physically restrain it from a long distance. Madara's clone in the Susanoo obviously also expected this, and simply gave up the struggle, after struggling in vain, giving up everything for a companion. I can't bear to see this scene. Madara smiled slightly, and his smile seemed to be somewhat self-deprecating. He once had a companion who could make him give up everything. But in the end, all he got was hatred. So, fire style, great fire extinguishment. The waves of fire surged, heading straight for Kakashi. But it seemed to miss the target. This gave Ikki enough time, and his pupil power blossomed, directly turning the fire style into earth style, and then ejected a bamboo from it, and headed straight for Kakashi. Obito estimated that he would be able to come soon, and after that, even if Madara had an extra pair of Rinnegan, it would not be a big problem. As long as Kakashi can be saved, this wave is not a loss. Ikki is operating here. On the other side, Madara, who was free to move, because Ikki had taken his eyes off him, also came to the front of Black Zetsu. Now, the battle can finally be more elegant. Madara emerged from Susanoo, and opened his own Rinnegan. Nagato, whose half-body was black, looked at Madara expressionlessly. Now, Madara was only one step away from taking his own power. But at this moment, I'm sorry, this time does not belong to you, Madara-sama. A voice sounded. The tone was Orochimaru's, but the voice was Kakashi's. Flying Thunder God was launched, and a flash of lightning was seen, heading straight for Madara's neck. Madara frowned, his body instinctively reacted. He fired the Rinnegan, and mobilized Susanoo at the same time. But Nagato in front of him, the Nagato controlled by Black Zetsu, moved. To be precise, it was a small white snake that emerged from behind him and pounced on Madara. People are always careless, Iki is no exception, and neither is Madara. With the Rinnegan right in front of him, Madara's vigilance dropped by 20%. But this 20% is enough for Orochimaru. Madara dodged the fatal knife from Kakashi, who was controlled by Orochimaru. But the little snake also bit Madara's arm. Then, a strange emotion broke out. Madara's body trembled, or more precisely, his shoulders and wrists trembled. He reacted very quickly, ready to be blown off with his arms, but his consciousness was blocked at this moment. Kakashi, who dodged the attack, stood in place, forming seals with both hands. A puff of white smoke rose up, and the real Orochimaru appeared. He was dressed in a white robe, no longer a snake, and except for the eyeshadow at the corners of his eyes turning purple, he looked exactly the same as Obito had seen before. Orochimaru raised his fingers. Let me keep your body and your plans for the time being, Master Madara. Ninjutsu, Undead Seal. Warm reminder, this site uses cookie technology to save your reading history and bookshelf, so clearing browser cookie data, reinstalling the browser and other operations will make your reading progress disappear. It is recommended to occasionally take a screenshot and save the bookshelf to prevent losing the novel you are reading. Chapter 269, Yingshu. Kakashi had a dream. In the dream, he sat by the window. The sky was blue, there were thousands of cranes outside the window, and there was sadness in the pawn book. Exciting and peaceful. In the dream, his father followed Master Jiraiya's example and traveled around the world to experience human nature, and finally he could have a good rest. In the dream, that adult gave up the Raichike fairyland, where she had lived for many years. With the approval of the adult who ruled the entire Raichike fairyland, she came to Konoha and cooked for him downstairs. Kakashi could even smell the fragrance of the food. Well, it tasted a bit like French fries. He closed the pawn book and sighed that Master Jiraiya's pen was a billion times stronger than that sword. Then he installed the pornographic book and the detonating talisman and put it in a safe place. This way, if a thief breaks into the house, he will not be able to see his little secret. After doing all this, Kakashi was going downstairs to eat. But as soon as he turned around, he saw the adult looking at him with a smile. After that, he came over and slapped him. Pa. Kakashi, you can't just read a pornographic book. Papa. Kakashi, don't hit someone in the face. You again. Pa. Kakashi suddenly opened his eyes and saw Obito with a potato chip bag in his mouth, riding on him, and was hitting him left and right. What the hell? Kakashi was confused, and his whole body shuddered. What the hell? Obito was confused again. Are you awake? Kakashi's memory began to recover, and his expression gradually sank. Obito also climbed up from Kakashi, and Kakashi found that the snack bags next to this guy had piled up like a mountain. What is going on now? Kakashi shook his head, not knowing whether Obito was too strong. He was a little dizzy now. Where's Madara? Where's my son? Obito raised his hand. What's wrong? Kakashi felt even more dizzy. He ignored Obito and looked around, and finally saw Iki squatting on the side, and there seemed to be a person lying in front of him. Where's Orochimaru? Iki? Kakashi had a bad feeling. At this time, Iki was half squatting with one hand on his chin, holding a stick in his mouth. That was not a cigarette. Iki was a medical ninja, and although he was very confident in his spear, he still chose not to touch that thing. In fact, Iki really wanted to have one now. Smoking, taking in nicotine and tar, can relax the mood and soothe the nerves. But this itself is actually a self-destructive tendency. When human society forms a moral system, the pressure from the spiritual level makes people choose to escape in their subconscious mind many times. Some people are upset, some people cry, some people smoke, and some people masturbate. That's the truth. As a scientist, Iki is very clear-headed. He is very depressed now, and a little autistic. They ran away. Iki replied to Kakashi, sighed and added, I don't know where they ran to. The key point is the last I don't know. It's so ridiculous. Iki now really wants to know, how did Orochimaru do this? Question mark? Time goes back to 15 minutes ago. At that time, Iki had not yet autistic, and was still the boy chasing the wind. The moment Kakashi launched Flying Thunder God and disappeared, Iki reacted and launched his ultimate move, Sage Leap. The real danger always comes from behind, and it is very deadly. It is true that Iki trusts Kakashi, but he does not trust Orochimaru. The root triangle has their own marks, Obito's Kamu, Kakashi's Flying Thunder God. Iki can actually use Flying Thunder God, and he knows the principle. He can also shoot it out in a matter of minutes within a distance of 50 centimeters. So the moment Kakashi disappeared, Iki's body had already made a judgment. This guy's going to attack from the back of his head at a 45-degree angle, because Kakashi's Flying Thunder God mark is there. As it turns out, Iki was left alone. Orochimaru did not control Kakashi to attack. Yet Iki remained alert. He removed his Susanoo, and replaced it with the 5th stage turtle shell. The 5th stage mini Susanoo provided all-round defense, and was as steady as an old dog. At the same time, he had to deal with the Madara clone, that he had not had time to deal with. However, when he was ready to act, he discovered that Madara's clone Susanoo was gone. Madara's clone also turned into a wooden statue. His expression even remained in the last second of boasting. Hideki was bold enough to use his imagination at the time. Could it be that Kakashi suddenly exploded and cut off Madara? That would be awesome. Then, when he rushed to the other side, he saw Madara, and he saw half of Black Nagato. He also saw Kakashi and Orochimaru. And then, Undead Seal. Huh. Iki exhaled. He figured it out. How Orochimaru did it was no longer important. Is it incredible? Is it incomprehensible? That's right. Warm reminder, the problem of logged-in users saving bookshelves across devices has been corrected. If it still cannot be saved, please remember the contents of the bookshelf first, clear the browser cookies, log in again, and add it to the bookshelf. He is a time traveler, who has come all the way from a 60 to 40 chance of winning in a fight, to now having the Susanoo Daibatsu and 2, Iki, nuclear blasters. This thing must be incredible in the eyes of others, in this world, in the eyes of people in this time and space. Yingshu used to think that, if people can't understand, then they can't understand, and they have to adapt, right? But after it really happened to him, Yingshu found that this feeling was not. Imagine, if the world he came to live in was actually just a creation written by others. Those superior people, those heroes among people, could they also be time travelers who are familiar with the plot? If so, then it's not a big problem, just report it, and what should happen will still happen. Yingshu figured it out, not that he figured out how Orochimaru did it, but that he won a defensive inner self-examination. He must admit it. Even though he is a 6th rank man, for a period of time in the past, he still had a contemptuous mentality towards the ninja world, this world, and everyone here. This is normal. Suppose you picked up a piece of information about a person or a group of strangers. Then when you face this, or that group of strangers, when you are sure that the information is true, you will always look down on him. Even if his past may be amazing. Yingshu actually thinks he has done very well. Steady and cautious. But he still overlooked that this world is actually made up of people one by one. Orochimaru is not stupid, on the contrary, he is very smart. Yingshu thinks that, if the two have the same starting point and the same hardware, Orochimaru is definitely more amazing than him. Unless, he has a golden finger. So, Yingshu chose to accept Orochimaru's move calmly. Isn't it just a technique that he has never heard of, but he knows it is very powerful as soon as he hears it? Isn't it just bringing the Samurai and Madara together? Change the name in the future, Uchiha Orochimaru or Orochimaru. We'll talk about it when we meet. Haha, it's really interesting. Yingshu laughed. He laughed with a calm and indifferent smile, a smile that looked down on everything, a smile that was detached, a smile that was indifferent, a smile that was crazy. Ha 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 ha. The Uchiha 4 laughing boys were happy. Obito and Kakashi had to stand behind Yingshu in a daze, not knowing what to do for a while. Iki just smiled for a while, and as stable as he was, he quickly adjusted himself. First of all, he had to admit that Orochimaru won this time. He brought Madara. He might even have stolen Madara's full level account. But this doesn't mean that Iki, has lost. He still has Obito. As long as Obito's Kamu can trap people, no one can escape for now. He still has Kakashi, who can cheer him on from behind. He still has the entire Konoha, plus 2 ultimate trump cards. This battle has just begun. It is still unknown who will win this battle. We have to go back. Obito, lead the way, and be quick. Iki said seriously. This sudden change of expression made Obito stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted, and he breathed a sigh of relief, and was secretly happy. Iki is back. Iki is indeed back, and his thinking is now particularly clear, and he has changed his previous old 6 mode. His eyes are now extremely sharp. The first step is to protect Kushina. No matter how much Orochimaru jumps, he can't get out of the scope of the ninja world. Even if he gets such a Madara's body, the upper limit is there, a pair of Rinnegan. If Orochimaru wants to gain higher power, he still needs the 9-tailed beast. This is also the reason why Iki is rushing back now. Although he is almost certain that Orochimaru will never return to Konoha at the first opportunity, he still has to make preparations. Then the second step is obvious. Guard the remaining 7-tailed beasts. One tail is still in Konoha, and Iki also participated in the seal, and left a mark. It was not broken, so the one tail is still there. The difficulty of this step lies in the other 7-tailed beasts, but the difficulty is not great. Iki is going to settle down a little, and then he can travel around the ninja world. Chiyo is right. The ninja world is a family, not just you and me. Unity and happiness. How? Then comes the third step. It is also a step that Iki feels is a bit risky. It might cost a little, it might upset some balances, it might be a little difficult. A small matter. If we do it, we might be able to find Orochimaru and take back the initiative. He is going to blow up the Ryochi cave. Yes, blow up the Ryochi cave. And we have to use Iki number 1. We have to use Iki number 1. Using anything else won't make me feel good. Orochimaru can be so arrogant, it must be with the support of the White Snake Immortal. Otherwise, how to explain those Ryochi cave magic arts? 2 days ago, he just came back from the mist-hidden battlefield not long ago, just a few months. 2 months. He can directly control the big pillars with magic arts. Although it is true that he was eventually defeated by the Great Pillar. But Orochimaru had obviously mastered the powerful Ryuchidang Senjutsu at that time. And Kakashi, this guy was suddenly controlled, which might be related to the Ryuchidang Senjutsu. Yingshu planned to blow up the Ryuchidang not only to vent his anger, but also to eradicate the hidden hand that Orochimaru left on Kakashi. You can't just give up the Great Buddha and keep the 5th stage of Susanu's turtle shell when the fight starts, right? It's unrealistic. Now the enemy is confirmed. Orochimaru. Yingshu doesn't want to care how this guy did it. He keeps a vigilant strategic vision, always calms down, and is even a little proud. In the final analysis, the reason why Orochimaru is so arrogant now is because the future is not his opponent. Otherwise, why would he go back to the past and the present? And even if time has changed, and the future is no longer the same, Iki will not panic. Who said Orochimaru can travel through time? Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 270. Kushina, come on. I can't hold on any longer. Call Minato. Quick. Minato will be here soon. He will be here soon. Come on Kushina, you can do it. Auntie, I want Minato. I haven't beaten him for 3 days. Let me. Kushina. Come on. The parturient is bleeding heavily. Blood bag. October 10, 48th year of Konoha. The delivery room was in chaos. A nurse ran out in a hurry. Across the red barrier, she shouted to the 3 short hair outside. Quick. Come in. The 3 looked at each other, and for a moment they were a little panicked. Obito and Kakashi immediately locked their eyes on Iki. Go, Iki, you are the only one who knows medical ninjutsu. This. Iki scratched his head and yelled. He is still a medical ninja. No. He won't take the key. And there are obviously skilled technicians inside. And there are so many nurses. Why is he missing? Don't waste time. The woman in labor refuses to cooperate. She must be beaten. Lord Minato hasn't come back yet. You 3 hurry in and get beaten up. The nurse was very anxious and a little angry. As soon as the words fell, the three of them took a step back tacitly. Yingshu would never go in. According to his understanding, human pain can be divided into 13 levels. When the mother gave birth, it was level 13. It seems that it was level 12 when the Jinkriki was pulled out of the tailed beast. In this case, satisfying Kushina's wish of beating people would come at a price. Anyway, Iki would never take this risk. It's as if the child is his. I'll go. Kakashi sighed, gritted his teeth, and was about to rush in. This is not his style. Of course, actively seeking to be beaten, and being beaten by Kushina, is not the style of any of the three giants of the root. The reason why Kakashi is so righteous is simply because he feels a little guilty. If he hadn't let down his guard at that time, Madara and Orochimaru. No. Iki frowned and stopped Kakashi. In the past few days, for the sake of safety and to prevent Orochimaru from making a sneak attack, they have not set foot out of Konoha. Now is the most critical moment. What if Kakashi is possessed again? It's hard to think about it. Let's go together. We've cut our hair together. It doesn't matter if we get beaten up. That day, the first thing they did when they returned to Konoha was to cut their hair. Iki is a very principled person. Don't laugh, this is the truth. At that time, when he made up his mind to use Iki number 1 and let Obito send Kushina away, he had already made a vow that if Madara touched the Rinnegan, he would shave his head. In the end, Madara did touch it, although it was only touched in a physical sense, but this is not the point. The point is, Iki felt that he was tricked by Orochimaru. This was something he could not accept. This was the reason why he shaved his head to show his determination, and it was also an apology to Minato for being late. After that, Kakashi saw that he had cut his hair, and he felt even worse. He immediately shaved his own white hair on the grounds that too long hair will affect my sword swinging speed. It's all about aerodynamics. When Obito saw that both of them had changed their hairstyles, and they were still the same, how could he tolerate this? Without saying anything, he turned into a buzz-cut sage. But to be honest, this did not hinder Obito's hair secret technique at all. Warm reminder, if you can't find the book title, you can try searching for the author. Maybe he just changed his name. And it makes his trick even more obscene. Who would have thought that a short-haired guy's hair could grow dozens of times longer in an instant, and could be used as 1,000 bones? The three of them walked into the barrier side by side, ready to die. However, before the three of them walked into the delivery room, a loud baby cry suddenly sounded. Kushina, come on. Try harder. As soon as voice followed, the three of them looked at each other again. It's born? Oh, just in time. Obito breathed a sigh of relief and ate another bite of potato chips after he was done. Although the young Obito has the secret technique of Akashinoku, he can't recover his previous burly figure in a short time. If he wants to store energy in his flesh, he has to go back to Mayaboki Mountain and eat high protein meals for at least another month. However, Iki stopped Obito because he was going to improve the immortal seal to see if Obito could learn it. And there is also a plan to implant Iki cells. Senju cells have too strong vitality and are not suitable for implantation in ordinary people unless they are fused with white zetsu, otherwise the risk is too great. But Iki cells are different. The vitality is equally strong, but after Tsuna's research in the past few days, his cells are not as aggressive as those of the Great Pillar. There is no comparison. To be honest, the cells of the Great Pillar are, to a certain extent, as powerful as cancer cells. Very nutritious, but also very poisonous. But the cells of Iki are a bit disgusting. How should I put it? The vitality of Iki's cells is indeed strong, but after leaving the main body, they will immediately enter a dormant state. They can also continue to provide chakra, and the amount is not small, but once the implantation is completed, even the master cannot find any implantation characteristics. There are no tattoos, and there are no obvious side effects. But this is the most frightening thing. Who knows if Iki's cells will suddenly erupt one day, or take over when a person is at his weakest. No side effects are the biggest side effect, but Obito doesn't need them for the time being. As someone who has mastered the Myabokuzen Senjutsu, he has certain privileges regarding the loss of his eye power. Iki has reason to suspect that the rapid opening of the Rinnegan of the old sage may be due to the Myabakusen's ninjutsu, in addition to the bloodline of the Otsutsuki clan. Let's go inside and take a look. Iki glanced at Obito and raised his eyebrows and hugged the child. By the way, he would not forget how Obito in the original Time and Space hugged Naruto. He also gave him several detonating tags as a birthday gift on the spot, which was really thoughtful. But then again, Naruto in this Time and Space will never become that pitiful look, right? Now that his parents are healthy, he can finally fulfill all the instructions given by Kushina before her death. So, Iki feels a sense of accomplishment. But at this time, come on. Almost there. Just one more step. Atsuna's voice rang out again, and the sound of Kushina's suppressed pain was so clear. Iki's expression suddenly became strange. And soon, wow. There was another cry, the same frequency as the previous one, but the problem was, there were obviously two babies crying. Iki was stunned. What? Warm reminder, if you can't find the book title by searching, you can try searching the author. Maybe he just changed his name. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, Guarding the Tail Beast. When Minato rushed back to Konoha, it was already the evening of the first day. No one blamed him because of the dried blood on his body. After Pain, Madara, and Orochimaru attacked Konoha, the three-village coalition finally couldn't hold back and launched an attack 3 days ago. The generals were well prepared, and Konoha took defensive measures at the first time. The blood did not belong to Minato, but it was obvious that Minato had suffered a fierce battle, and in the time he was in, he had no time to clean himself up. Iki suggested using a water jutsu to help Minato wash, but was rejected by Minato. A transformation technique temporarily restored normalcy. The new parent just wanted to see his children as soon as possible. Yes, children. Iki still hasn't recovered from the shock. How could it be two? How could it be like this? And they are Dragon and Phoenix twins. Ever since the Orochimaru incident, Iki has come to realize that everything that happens in this world that is different from the original Time and Space is more or less related to him. Obito is, needless to say, from a pyramid scheme boy to the current Myabakusen sage. Iki admits that he should take the main responsibility. Needless to say, Kakashi's son, in order to make his fangs stand up, he was almost kidnapped by the Roots when he returned home, which was very dangerous. Orochimaru came back from the future to mess around, and Yingshu felt that it must be his fault. Because he was confident that if Orochimaru did not come back in the future, then with his strength, he could make this ninja world go down according to his script. Conquer Shizu, capture Orochimaru, the painless tailed beast is peeled off, the Ten Tails appears, Kaguya is resurrected, and the Six Paths Sage gives buffs. He must have done it. Otherwise, Orochimaru would not come back to change this. And he still started from the first step, Shizu, but he has been missing for 4 months. But that's what he said. Iki swore that Kushina gave birth to a dragon and a phoenix, and it had nothing to do with him. So what happened to this world? Iki was puzzled until he realized something. Then Ashura's reincarnation, could it be? Well, this directly caused Iki to become more entangled. Even when Obito and Kakashi were ready to set off, he still looked doubtful about the world. You are looking at the two people who each had a large scroll with the square root of 3 on their backs. Iki finally reacted. They have something to do. It's not a small thing. It's both a mission and a plan. The first step of the counterattack plan, a surprise attack on the coalition of the 3 villages, and guarding the remaining 7-tailed beasts. Yes, Iki has not been idle these days. Guarding against Orochimaru's attack is secondary, and the key is to prepare for the attack. Of course, this process is definitely not so smooth. From the first tail to the 8th tail, they are all in the hands of the coalition of the 3 villages. Iwagakure and Kumogakure each have 2 tails, and Kirigakure has 3. Now the coalition of the 3 villages has announced an attack on Konoha together. It is really too scary. Iki was ready to hesitate for a while, but negotiation has always been his strong point. Wait for me, 5 minutes. Iki disappeared in an instant and ran straight home. Normally, he has been staying in Konoha these days. If Orochimaru is also going for the Ten Tails, he has already missed the opportunity. Warm reminder, the problem of logged-in users saving bookshelves across devices has been corrected. If it still cannot be saved, please remember the contents of the bookshelf first, clear the browser cookies, log in again, and add it to the bookshelf. But the account cannot be calculated like this. By guarding the 9 tails and the 1 tails, Yingshu's plan is ahead of the curve. Moreover, in a competitive situation, it is impossible to maintain a completely leading position. It is unrealistic. Instead of taking the initiative to attack and buy time with Orochimaru, it is better to let Orochimaru take the first step and attract hatred. The current Yingshu is no longer the one who wanted to kick the ninja world and blow up 5 villages with his hands. He wants to use everything he can and unite everyone who can be united. Tsunagakure had already given him a reference answer that time. As long as he is a little gentler, the ninja world is my home, and happiness will come to you and me. This can be done. Summoning scroll, summoning scroll, summoning scroll. Yingshu muttered and went straight to the bedroom, where he had all his stocks, including the portable wet bone forest fairy art shadow clone reverse summoning scroll. That wet bone forest clone, that absorbs natural energy day and night, is his Konoha forest's gentleness. Take a little from this, a little from this. Yingshu searched happily. He didn't need the detonating smoke bomb anymore, but he felt uneasy without it. And this. Yingshu unfolded a scroll, a seal scroll. Although speaking of seals, he still prefers physical seals. But for a guy like Orochimaru, physical seals sometimes seem to have average effects. And what Yingshu needs now is a first mover. Sage technique. For Edyang formation, Yingshu actually went straight into sage mode, with both fingers raised at the same time, and then a red barrier rose up around his entire room. I've been waiting for you for a long time, Orochimaru. Iki roared at the air, and at the same time, his hands were already pressed on the sealing scroll. Inside was the sealing technique he had prepared long ago, which could be activated without chakra, and Iki himself could also use it, but it could be activated by the scroll, which was more than 4 seconds faster. Worth it. Your insight is as surprising as always, Iki-kun. A hoarse and charming voice floated in the air. Immediately afterwards, a figure appeared in front of Iki, rising from the ground, but without destroying the floor. Earth may fly technique. White robe, purple eyeshadow, wild and unruly hairstyle, a pair of snake eyes full of interest. It was Orochimaru who spoke, but it was Madara who appeared in front of Iki. Madara the snake. I believe that my chakra is undetectable, and I can even leave Konoha freely without being discovered by the sealing squad. Madara the snake stared at Iki. So, can you explain to me how you found me, Iki-kun? Iki felt very offended. In the past, Madara was domineering and laughed wildly when he disagreed with someone. Even if he did nothing and just stood there quietly, you could still see his wildness. Now, Madara, whose body was occupied by Orochimaru. If I have to describe it, it's that. He practiced the forbidden technique Sunflower Manual and then became obsessed with Imakube. But this does not affect Yingshu's status. Not only did I find you, I also know that you are now the real body, Orochimaru. Well, Yingshu was still affected, just like a good friend suddenly switched bodies with a girl. How can they talk? But fortunately, the two people in front of Yingshu are both enemies. That's it. Zion Information. Warm reminder, this site uses cookie technology to save your reading history and bookshelf, so clearing browser cookie data, reinstalling the browser and other operations will make your reading progress disappear. It is recommended to occasionally take a screenshot to save the bookshelf, in case you can't find the novel you are reading. Chapter 272 Orochimaru's Visit. Does Yingshu really know that the Orochimaru in front of him is the real person? No, he doesn't know. He can feel the surging chakra in the body of the big snake Madara, and feel the breath of the wood release. He can be sure that the Madara in front of him is not a wood release clone. Is this not enough? It is enough. Boom 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 boom. Red shackles fell from the sky, and the house that Yingshu regarded as his life was smashed into a lot of holes. Yingshu is so distressed now, so distressed. Tell me your purpose, Orochimaru. This is the third time Yingshu asked Orochimaru this question. Every time Orochimaru did not give a direct answer, and every time Orochimaru's level was much higher. From the beginning, the big pillar of dirt with 50% of its strength could not be controlled, and now the big snake Madara. This speed of progress is terrifying. Iki already has a sense of crisis. He used to have an advantage in bloodline, but not anymore. His advantage has become his 9-year compulsory education, a simple elementary school, and finally a new life with the help of Dust Escape. On the other side, Orochimaru has an absolute advantage in bloodline plugin. I have always respected you, Iki-kun. Orochimaru, whose movements were blocked by the Margin Gate, showed his usual calmness. There was not enough space, so he simply knelt down. From the first time we met, and every time since then, I have always respected your choices, Iki-kun. Today, Orochimaru was so emotional that he tucked a strand of hair that was covering his eyes behind his ears. In view of your inexplicable hostility towards me and our previous inefficient communication methods, so I decided to change the way of communication with you today. Iki resisted the urge to shiver and silently used chakra to wipe away the goosebumps all over his body. The calmer Orochimaru was, the more uncertain Iki felt. This thing can't kill. The Madara in front of him is real, and Orochimaru is also real. Who knows how many tricks this guy has? The most important thing is that he hasn't seen Madara's Rinnegan yet. Is this guy stalling for time to catch the tail beast? Bait? The 6th attribute was activated, and Yingshu secretly became alert. I will tell you the answer, but you must answer my question first. One answer for another answer, okay? Orochimaru continued. Yingshu narrowed his eyes and did not respond. I'll answer your question first to show my sincerity. Orochimaru didn't care about the undisguised distrust in Yingshu's eyes and smiled. The purpose of my visit this time is you. Yingshu, I know what you want, so I have been preparing for you. If you can let down your guard and remove the seal on me, that doesn't matter to me. I will be happy to hand it over to you now. By the way, your new hairstyle is good. How is it? Yingshu raised his eyebrows when he heard it. If that's the case, you can break free and try. Yingshu acted very relaxed and uncooperative. In fact, he was a little panicked in his heart. After the resurrection of the rotten earth, the Margin Gate was kicked to pieces with a bang, and Orochimaru probably didn't brag. But it doesn't matter, there is still the 4-ed yang array outside. That is not the anti-theft device he used to prevent thieves, but a super barrier array that he had prepared long ago. After all, in his room, the scroll for him to summon, Iki number 1, is stored. Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. Just waiting for Obito to come. Iki comforted himself in his heart. Even if he couldn't kill Orochimaru, it would be the same to deal with Madara first. Although the order is wrong, I came here with sincerity, Iki-kun. Otherwise, I could just show up next to those two kids. I don't mean to threaten you, but I sincerely hope to have a chat with you. Iki's eyes suddenly turned cold, but Orochimaru didn't take it seriously. It's your turn to answer my question. The smile on Orochimaru's face disappeared, and he looked a little serious and solemn. How did you find me? Iki only felt that the murderous aura that had just risen in his heart had dropped by half in an instant. Looking at Orochimaru's serious expression, he still couldn't figure out Orochimaru's real purpose. A little trick. Iki spoke. As you can see, I have things here that can kill you 100 times. We can't let other innocent thieves suffer the same fate. Obito and Kakashi have already arrived. They didn't quarrel, but just looked at Hideki through the barrier. Since the battle a few days ago, Obito has been following Hideki's tactics at the time, and not leaving anything in the Camus space. Always be prepared. But Hideki shook his head. He stretched out a finger, meaning tactic number 1. Retreat. Obito obviously didn't understand. He had already controlled Orochimaru, so why retreat? But before Kakashi could react, he whispered something into Obito's ear, and Obito's eyes suddenly showed murderous intent. He was about to run without saying a word, but after running 2 steps, he turned back and stared at Orochimaru, pointed at his own eyes, then pointed at Orochimaru, and finally made a throat-slitting gesture. The meaning was, I've got my eyes on you, I'm going to kill you. Kakashi also looked at Orochimaru deeply, and the two left. After the two left, Iki immediately locked onto Orochimaru. Now, it's my turn to ask you. This is not the answer I want, Iki-kun. Orochimaru was very polite, and he waited until the square root of 3 communication was over before he spoke. I don't think what I did can be called a thief, but I know that you are always on guard against me. So my question is actually, why are you so hostile to me all the time? This confuses me, Iki-kun. As if to confirm his attitude, Orochimaru showed deep doubts on his face. After this, Iki himself was puzzled. His intention was to delay time and let Obito transfer Kushina to prevent Orochimaru from having any backup plan. But Orochimaru is doing this. Are you serious? Do you think I should trust a traitor? A person who used the body of my companion? A person who used the child of someone I cherish to threaten me? Yingshu answered seriously. The moment you betrayed, you and I were destined to be enemies, Orochimaru. Yingshu pointed to his forehead and pretended to have a strong sense of mission. I'm a Konoha ninja. This answer is perfect, at least Yingshu himself thinks so. However, Orochimaru in front of him shook his head. This is a lie, my Iki-kun. Because you in the future told me the real answer before destroying the world. Do you want to hear it? Warm reminder, if you think this book is good, please remember to add it to your bookshelf to avoid not finding it next time. Chapter 273. The atmosphere is bad. The moment Yingshu heard the word future, Yingshu seemed to understand it in an instant. The previous guesses were connected with dotted lines, and after Orochimaru personally acknowledged the word future, they became solid lines. Yingshu couldn't help but have a question in his mind at this moment. Suppose a person from the future came back and was chopped off. So does this person from the future know that he was chopped off? Tell me. Yingshu crossed his arms over his chest and entered the posture of seemingly not taking action, but actually going berserk every minute. This is the first question, Iki-kun. Orochimaru stopped being serious and smiled, and that's on the premise that you lied. Iki raised his eyebrows. Why did this guy suddenly become so serious? But he didn't grow up jealous. You didn't stipulate whether you can lie or not, and how can you be sure that the current me is lying, but the future me is not? And I don't think my hostility towards you can be covered up by you saying lie. If you insist on doing this, it's not impossible. Then I won't ask. After saying that, Iki immediately raised a finger. He did lie. His hostility towards Orochimaru was natural from the first moment they met. Nonsense. Who wouldn't be confused when seeing the 3 ninjas of Konoha being a little poisonous? Iki was thinking. In the future, that Orochimaru held on to, Orochimaru was probably already clearly arranged by Shizuka to Matsukami. So if the future Orochimaru asked himself this question, his answer would definitely be unconventional. But that's not important anymore. Tell me your purpose, Orochimaru. This determines whether the conversation between you and me can continue. I'm running out of patience. Orochimaru stared at Iki for 2.75 seconds. To be precise, he was staring at his finger. I'm glad that your murderous intent has disappeared, Iki-kun. In this way, I can show it with confidence. Orochimaru said, closing his eyes. And the moment he opened his eyes, purple eyes, circles of waves, Madara's Rinnegan suddenly appeared. Iki overcame the power of Sage Leap and directly put on the 5th stage of Susanoo. Iki was a little surprised at the moment. This means that Orochimaru has already controlled Madara's body and can even use the Rinnegan. What does this mean? Orochimaru already has the ability to control a figure of Madara's level. If converted into the earthly reincarnation, Orochimaru can now do whatever he wants. Boom, 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 boom. Iki's heartbeat was fast, and his chakra was restless. I'm afraid that today's level will not be so easy. Just imagine, a huge army under the control of Orochimaru, the Senju brothers in their prime, and even more. No, just the Senju brothers. It would take a lot of effort. Is this your goal, Orochimaru? Yingshu made his voice calm. He now had a Susanoo mask on his face. Otherwise Orochimaru would definitely be very unhappy with him. You should know that this is your 3rd attack on Konoha. When I showed the barrier, Konoha had already entered the evacuation stage. This time, you've got a narrow path. Yingshu was not bluffing. What he said was true. Konoha's support came immediately, but they didn't come to help him. Just like when Madara fought Hashirama, this level of fighting is not something that ordinary ninjas can engage in. The only thing they can do is to retreat and evacuate. The biggest help they can give is to let Iki have no worries. That's why I want you to answer that question truthfully, Iki-kun. Orochimaru's tone became helpless, and he frowned for the first time. You are always like this. If we disagree, you will do everything you can to kill me. The communication between you and me is basically those boring fights. Why on earth would you want to kill me? I have never shown hostility to you. I have never hurt you, but you. Orochimaru sighed, like an abandoned woman. God knows how Iki could see the resentment on Madara's face, and the Orochimaru he found looked a little aggrieved. Iki was also puzzled. Does this guy really have no sense in his heart? The first time he attacked Konoha, this guy brought out the Yamato no Orochi, and even summoned the Great Pillar. He stuck his butt out twice before he could physically seal him. The first time was at the former root base, opening its mouth wide to bite him, but he sealed it physically. The third time was even more outrageous, helping Pain get 5 corpses, and the battle with Obito was so fierce that Obito's 2-leg flesh was consumed. Obito has lost weight. She manipulated Kakashi to give Madara a chance, and then took away Madara with the Samurai. These were all done by this resentful woman. Are you still wronged? Question mark. Are you still crying out for injustice? Question mark. Then how can I reason with you? But Iki didn't dare to act rashly now. The time given to him by the leader was 15 minutes. Warm reminder, this site uses cookie technology to save your reading history and bookshelf, so clearing browser cookie data, reinstalling the browser and other operations will make your reading progress disappear. It is recommended to occasionally take a screenshot to save the bookshelf in case you can't find the novel you are reading. At least 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, Konoha, which has entered the emergency plan, will evacuate the villages as quickly as possible, but only those in the inner circle. It will take at least half an hour to evacuate all of them. This is the case when Obito plus Minato plus Kakashi, the 3 time and space ninjas, go all out. Of course, if Obito simply sends people to the Camus space, this time will be even less. Obito's Camus space is a card table in strategic terms. It's not that Iki is afraid of Orochimaru. If he has to fight him in a one-on-one duel, he has a 40% chance of winning. If he's aggressive, he may not lose. But the enemy is Orochimaru. You can't find a way to kill him. You can only be on guard against thieves forever. I have to go to Ryochi Cave, damn. Iki cursed inwardly. He was so passive. Iki-kun, have you ever thought that you and I are not enemies? Just when Iki was thinking about how to buy more time and wait for Obito to come and take him away, Orochimaru spoke again. But this time Iki didn't plan to play along. Shut up, Orochimaru. Are you planning to change the world with your mouth? You are just a thing that escaped from the future to the past. You are no different from an outdated guy like Madara. In the final analysis, you are both just guys who failed in your respective eras. It's just that one chose to make great achievements in the future, and the other could only run to the past to do evil. You are not even as good as Madara. Yingshu output crazily. He has decided that this matter is over. No matter whether he wins or loses, he has to go to the Ryochi Cave in the Dragon Vein. If he wins, he will blow up the Ryochi Cave, and then he will go back to the past by following the Dragon Veins. In the end, he will go back to the time when Orochimaru was a child. Damn it. Then he will use a set of Iki brand gas bags. Then he will hang him up high and use a red hot iron rod to kill him 100 times. Of course, if he loses, he will not go to the Ryochi Cave. What he needs to do remains the same, but he will just run away in a defeated posture. You make me a little sad, Iki-kun. Orochimaru stood up immediately after Iki's mouth cannon. Those Shinto gates seemed to be nothing in his eyes. Yingshu only felt a burst of chakra mixed with fairy techniques, and his Shinto gates were immediately blown into pieces. Are you not pretending anymore? You look much better without the disguise, Orochimaru. Yingshu began to accumulate strength. The only way for him to cause damage to Orochimaru Madara without destroying the barrier was taijutsu. Ordinary ninjutsu is useless against this guy. It seems that his superb taijutsu is no match for Madara. He can only bet that the upper limit of Orochimaru Madara's taijutsu is Orochimaru instead of Madara. Sure enough, we can only use the same method. Orochimaru sighed and shook his head, and then he suddenly laughed out loud, as if he had thought of something. That's right. If you can sit down calmly and be honest with me, then you are not yourself. Yingshu. Yingshu did not respond. Immortal Seal maximum output. Yin Seal maximum output. 10,000 cores maximum output. Yingshu felt a pain in his body. He was only 14 years old, and it was a bit difficult for his body to withstand such a huge force. He regretted that he did not work hard enough in the wet bone forest, regretted not exercising regularly, and regretted not learning the 8 gates ninjutsu. He could have become stronger. But it was too late to regret. Yingshu's breath became heavier. Youth, no regrets. So, Sunday Tiger. There is a suspicion of piracy. The atmosphere has been set to this point, and Yingshu has to shout like this. And in this situation, apart from anything else, Yingshu's movements are the same as the 7 gates K. Boom. Instant body plus fist and rush to the face of the snake. The airwave generated is comparable to a normal punch from a bald guy. The whole barrier is deformed, just like Yingshu's restless garage door in the early morning. However, even though Yingshu is so fast, this punch is blessed by the K. The snake still managed to dodge a second before being hit. His body was naturally soft, like a big snake, and he went from under Ikki's fist to behind Ikki, and then wrapped Ikki. The body was indeed Madara's. The Rinnegan was also Madara's, but the fighting mode was still Orochimaru's. Ikki was happy at first, thinking that his superb physical skills might not be useless. But soon he was shocked again. Madara, the big snake, blew a breath in his ear. Senju and Uchiha, yin and yang. If you get one, you can get Senritenshi. Orochimaru's voice rang quietly. Yang, I've already given it to you, Yingshu-kun. Now, damn it. Let me go. Don't get close to me. Yingshu struggled. Yingshu resisted. Duck K. Warm reminder, if you can't find the book title, you can try searching the author. Maybe he just changed his name. Chapter 274 to level reversal. The real Yage almost kicked out the finale with one kick. The fake Yage, courage. The big snake Madara bit Ikki on the shoulder. Ikki's heart skipped a beat. Am I going to lose? Am I going to be wiped out? Question mark? Damn. I'm only 14 years old. But he quickly calmed down. The 5th stage of Susanoo, except for the size. All the indicators are benchmarked against the complete Susanoo, and the chakra is very condensed. I didn't break your teeth. Haha. Ikki was very happy. The mini Susanoo, bang bang hard. He put one hand upside down on Orochimaru's neck, and with the other hand grabbed Orochimaru's body wrapped around him. Next, his superb taijutsu will be fully utilized in this 100 square meter area. Burn it up. The black Susanoo armor turned dark red, the 5th stage of the fairy technique. Susanoo no Uchiro, the molten chakra armor. What Yingshu said about burning is literally what it means. Every profession has its own specialty. Yingshu actually discovered that his talent in taijutsu seems to be really average. Although his reaction nerves are good, it is still too poor compared to his talent in ninjutsu. Yingshu has thought about it. Either just give up and think about how to make the best use of his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. Wouldn't it be better for him to be a mage? Or learn the 8 gates ninjutsu, work hard to make up for one's shortcomings, strive to achieve 0 mistakes, and kick out the finale one day? Yingshu chose the former, for no other reason than that he was studying nuclear fusion at the time. He had no time. But that didn't stop him from applying the blood he had pumped up to his physical skills. The Rinnegan can indeed absorb chakra, but there is only one pair of eyes. Theoretically, as long as you avoid the range of the Rinnegan's chakra absorption and apply the ninjutsu directly to the body, it will also be effective. For example, here it is. Sizzle, lava roasted snake meat. That's how exciting. Ishukan. Orochimaru's throat was strangled, so his voice became a little sharp. But Yingshu didn't care. I won't listen. With force on his legs, Yingshu rushed straight to the sky. The previous Higashira and Yage were both cowardly, which was considered plagiarism. Tribute. Now, he is really going to copy. Senjutsu would release. A would release wrapped around Ikki's back, with the same mini Susanoo and the same molten release chakra armor, and directly clamped the snake Madara from the front and back. Next, it was the highlight of Ikki's superb Taijutsu. Taijutsu secret love is stronger than gold 7 heavens lock face lotus. Come on. It's still piracy, and it's double piracy, but Ikki is not afraid. The two Ikkis began to spin around Orochimaru, spinning like crazy. Ikki-kun. It's too late to beg for mercy now. The two Ikkis yelled together, and they began to land. This is not over yet. Ikki recalled the scene when Kakashi vs Hanzo, and he performed as fiercely as a tiger, but missed the target after a careful look. He came out, just now. Another super double wave. Senjutsu Thunder Taijutsu secret love is stronger than gold thunder dragon drill. Sign. Orochimaru. Sizzle. The blue and red spinning top in the air, pointed directly to the ground. Ikki was secretly happy. Orochimaru's Taijutsu, that's no joke, right? Ikki was not exaggerating about this move. With his impact, 6 paths Madara probably wouldn't dare to take it head on. Well, it's a bit exaggerated. The lethality of this move is estimated to be that of the Tenpatan. Force acceleration plus rotational sprint. This wave of physical kinetic energy is full. If Yingshu didn't have the mini Susanoo, he would definitely not dare to use this move. From Orochimaru's constant calls, it can be seen that he is panicking. Ishu-kun. Just when the three were about to hit the ground, Orochimaru's helpless voice rang again. Calm down. Feel your body carefully. Feel your chakra. Yingshu suddenly thought. What did Orochimaru say to him just now? He seemed to say, yin and yang, what was given and what was not given. Yingshu thought again that the big pillar pressed on his shoulder that day, that directly led to him learning the sage mode in one day. According to Orochimaru, it is the power of yang. Yingshu prefers to call it the power of Ashura, the power of yin, or the power of Indra. Boom. A deep pit was smashed into the ground, and dust suddenly rose from the red barrier. Even Ikki, who had a mini Susanoo, was confused at this moment. This is the price of the lotus flower. The caster himself will suffer some injuries, but the person being cast must be in a worse situation. Ikki himself is a little confused, so you can imagine what Orochimaru is like. Have you calmed down, Ikki-kun? A voice sounded 5 meters from Ikki's side, with 3 eyes teasing, 5 eyes distressed, and 2 eyes admiring. The only thing is that there is no pain. Warm reminder, this site uses cookie technology to save your reading history and bookshelf, so clearing browser cookie data, reinstalling the browser and other operations will make your reading progress disappear. It is recommended to occasionally take a screenshot and save the bookshelf in case you can't find the novel you are reading. Yingshu was shocked. How did he get rid of my 7 days lock of love stronger than gold? Question mark? My taijutsu is flawless. It shouldn't be like this. Yingshu stood up with a carp jump, staring at Orochimaru in a fighting posture. At this moment, Orochimaru had already completed the seal. It was not an offensive ninjutsu. It was a pupil technique. Blue chakra appeared around Orochimaru, and then a huge sword stabbed towards Yingshu. At this level, are you going to use scraping? Yingshu, who was wearing the first stage Susanoo, said he was not panicked at all. As he said, Orochimaru's Susanoo was only suitable for scraping. But the problem was, shit? Yingshu was shocked. His armor was gone. Gone. The mini Susanoo disappeared. The molten chakra armor was gone. And not only that, he even released his sage mode. This. Yingshu panicked for a moment. He was in the middle of a team fight, but his computer had a blue screen. Question mark? His first thought was to check his body quickly. Orochimaru's bite just now must have worked. But his first thought was to dismiss the first thought, because the great sword was about to arrive. At the critical moment, Yingshu did not use the sage leap. He could feel his chakra. The sage seal was closed, but the yin seal was still there. Summoning technique. Yingshu bit his finger and quickly formed seals with both hands, almost rubbing sparks. 3 Rashomons. Summoning technique. Yingshu rarely used it. The only time, he summoned his own clone. But this does not mean that he can't, nor does it mean that he can only summon the slug sage in clones. The Rashomon of the first generation, Tsunade had already given him 3 gates with ferocious ghost faces appeared one after another. This is the final answer to the earth flow wall. Duang. The giant sword failed to break through Yingshu's defense. Yingshu took this opportunity to quickly check his body. First, his shoulder. Orochimaru, that bastard, specifically targeted his most sensitive part. Fortunately, he defended himself and had already adapted to it. Otherwise, his shoulder would be fine. Is he just trying to turn off my fairy seal? Is he jealous of my abundant fairy chakra? Not really. Yingshu tried to activate the mini Susanoo again. It failed. He tried to activate the first stage Susanoo again, but it failed again. He didn't know what Orochimaru did to him, but the Susanoo technique was temporarily ineffective. Yingshu swallowed his saliva and tried to activate the blood conversion. He didn't even dare to try to activate the jutsu conversion for fear of failure. In the end, it still failed. Orochimaru not only sealed his SEN seal, but also his main Jiki gun. It's okay, I still have wood release. Iki's heartbeat quickened, and he kept comforting himself to stay calm. The 2 killer moves, Woodman technique and Wood Dragon technique, do not require pupil power or SEN jutsu chakra. With the storage capacity of his Yin seal, it is more than enough to create a 200-meter giant. Don't panic, don't be afraid. This guy has Madara's full level account, but he still follows his own path. His fighting power is not that strong. Although I can't enter the Sensheo mode now, this can also make him feel that he has a sure win. Once Obito arrives and Kamu is closed, my Iki number 1 will be able to appear. Iki kept cheering himself up in his heart. This is the advantage of being a 6th rate player. No matter what kind of adversity, he will not give up easily, nor will he lose his feet. Because a 6th man is born to create opportunities in adversity. Because in the eyes of the 6th man, every minute and every second of life is a desperate situation. Hold on. Another 7 minutes, and Obito will be here. Tsunade gave Iki 15 minutes, and Iki gave Obito 20 minutes. Now 13 minutes have passed, and Iki feels that there is no big problem. Very soon, kill them in one go. Keep suppressing. 3 Rashomons fell. Iki formed seals with both hands, and the chakra was suddenly raised. The best defense is never to participate in the battle, always attack. He must keep suppressing. SEN. Would release. Bamboo landing. What the hell? When the Rashomon was withdrawn, Iki was shocked again. The big snake in front of him had changed again. A white snake was drilling out of Madara's body, and Madara's eyes were also empty, with 2 bloodstains on his face. In just a blink of an eye, the white snake was separated from Madara's body and turned into a human form. It was Orochimaru. You need time to digest that power, Iki-kun. And I'm sorry, this lord will wake up soon. I still don't want to be there. Goodbye Iki-kun. You know how to find me. Orochimaru said as he made a seal with one hand. Without giving Iki a chance to react, he turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. Reverse summoning technique, the eternal nemesis of the barrier. Yingshu was completely stunned. He only had time to see the 2 eyeballs in Orochimaru's hand. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that Orochimaru seemed to roll his eyes. Then, Madara woke up. Warm reminder, to make it easier for everyone to choose books, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. Chapter 275 Crazy. Orochimaru left. He left behind Iki, whose title was temporarily banned, and Madara, whose equipment was cleaned. Iki is in a very bad condition now. His Mankoryu was sealed, his Sage Seal was also sealed, and more than 70% of his weapons were destroyed. He is now no different from an ordinary ninja. This is not the worst. The worst thing is that he found that he is not clean. There must be something wrong with Orochimaru's bite, but his title cannot be banned. Orochimaru, this guy. Iki adjusted his breathing, staring at Madara who was blinded and seemed to be mad in the distance. Madara woke up, but he didn't seem to wake up. Iki could feel the chakra surges of this guy, but he didn't move for the time being. Poor guy. Somehow, this thought suddenly popped up in Iki's heart. Logically, as he was banned and waited for Madara, he should have given his most sincere greetings to the instigator of this matter, Orochimaru. But in fact, Iki now has a new view on the situation. Combined with Orochimaru's previous attitude and the words Orochimaru said before he left, Iki probably knows what Orochimaru did. Yin and Yang, Senju and Uchiha, the combination of the two can obtain everything. This is actually a lie. It is the effort that Black Zetsu made to save his mother, and it is a manifestation of his sincere filial piety. This is for the reincarnation of Jidala. Only those who possess Jidala and Ashura chakra at the same time can obtain the power of the six paths. This is what Iki knows about the true way to open the Rinnegan. According to Orochimaru, he already had the power of Yang. It came from the touch of the Great Pillar that day. Iki previously thought that it was only the Ninjutsu chakra, a ticket to open the Ninjutsu of the wet bone forest. Now it seems that it is not just that. In fact, Iki should have thought of it earlier. No one except the Great Pillar can learn the Ninjutsu of the wet bone forest. Not even Suna is an exception. It seems that there is a reason. This is unknown to Hideki Hera, but in summary, under the manipulation of Orochimaru, he learned, or in other words, he was given the permission to absorb the chakra of the immortal technique. In short, he already had the wood release, and after being authorized by the Great Pillar, he truly possessed the chakra of Ashura. In Hideki Hera's plan, the power of the six paths could only be obtained by absorbing the power of Madara's Rinnegan, or by tricking the six paths sage. This was his perspective. After reading the original work, either destroy Black Zetsu, safely become the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, and possess the power of the six paths, or take Madara's eyes and wear them yourself, or simply absorb the power in them. Otherwise, let the six paths master bless him, give him the power of yin and yang at the same time, and start killing on the spot. There are only 3 methods, but Orochimaru seems to have found a 4th method. First, he must use the earth to turn Ashirama out, and let him voluntarily contribute his yang power. Iki is sure that Orochimaru did not reach any bargain with the Great Pillar, or persuade the Great Pillar. He used a routine. He tricked the Great Pillar into swallowing things when his soul returned to the Pure Land. Although the Great Pillar's yang power is very likely incomplete, at least it is not as good as the Six Paths Sage. In short, Orochimaru succeeded. Iki did reach the level at this point. And after that, there is the poor Madara in front of him. Orochimaru took every step carefully. First he defeated Pain and Black Zetsu's team, provided support, and gained their trust. Iki didn't know how he did it, but it seemed that even Madara was optimistic about Orochimaru at that time. This younger generation is very creative. Unfortunately, this is still Orochimaru's routine. When Madara was about to obtain the samurai, he suddenly exploded, saying sorry, I'm an undercover, and successfully stole the samurai. He also temporarily took down Madara's body. The ability of the technique called Undead Seal is probably clear. Iki estimated that it should be the same way as Undead Reincarnation. And it is an upgraded deluxe version, can directly seal a person's soul into the body, and then gain control of the body. Yingshu suddenly discovered that this technique seemed to be the same as the physical Katamatsukami. So, I guessed wrong. Yingshu had to admit that he thought he was wrong. He thought that in the so-called future, he had everything under control, and everything was going according to his original plan. Orochimaru would be controlled by Katamatsukami, and then he would start to become a tool. But facts proved that he thought too much. It is very likely that Orochimaru was controlled, but can such a person really be controlled? Katamatsukami, after the completion of the skill is activated, it can make people act according to the will of the caster without consciousness. It sounds very grand, but Yingshu feels that it is just a kind of hypnosis, giving people a psychological hint, that's all. In short, the principle must be the same. After all, the gods can't keep staring at others, and can't keep casting illusions. Warm reminder, there are functions such as switch between simplified and traditional Chinese, adjust font size, and reading background color in the upper right corner of the page. If it is just a psychological hint, really, can it have an effect on Orochimaru? Yingshu thought so, but now he doesn't think so. Orochimaru is a person who is good at thinking, but unlike ordinary people, he has abandoned many ethical and moral bottom lines, and cannot be judged by ordinary people. Yingshu has heard such a saying, common sense is the various prejudices formed by people before the age of 18. He has also heard such a saying, I can be closed in a walnut shell and still think that I'm a boundless lord. Can a guy with a somewhat distorted worldview, but a very meticulous thinking really be permanently controlled by an illusion? In terms of setting, yes. But in reality, if Yingshu has to pick a good person between the future Orochimaru and the present Orochimaru, he will not choose the future Orochimaru. Even if the future Orochimaru is controlled by Katamatsu-kami, he is not sure. But the current Orochimaru is more like entering the Aunt Orochimaru period in Naruto in advance. He is powerful, but has no ambition, or he has no ambition of those vulgar people. And Yingshu is such a vulgar person. After Orochimaru stole Madara's number, he did not start competing for the tailed beast as Ikki had expected. His purpose was not here at all. Controlling Madara's body, mastering Madara's power, and then giving him the yin power that belonged to Madara, is what Orochimaru has already done. But there is still the same problem. If the Uchiha wanted to obtain yin yang power and Senra Bankai, they could do it by biting Hashirama. What about the Senju? If Hashirama wants to obtain Senra Bankai, he can't bite Madara as well, right? The answer is the eyes. If Hashirama wanted to, he would transplant Madara's eyes after defeating Madara, and perhaps the ninja world would have been a family by now. But Hashirama was not that kind of person. Otherwise, even without transplanting Madara's eyes, the ninja world can still be one family. So, I'm now in the upgrade stage. Ikki took a deep breath. The Great Pillar gave him Senjutsu chakra, but in fact, he gave him a key. A key that can transform his body into a true sage body through the power of Senjutsu. 6 paths sage, 6 paths plus sage. The Otsutsuki bloodline has mutated into a sage eye plus sage body. Sage body, Ikki now has it. And the sage eye. Ikki felt his eyes carefully. He was too nervous before, and he only knew how to mobilize the pupil power, but he failed after completing it, which made him ignore the changes in his body. And now, he can feel that a new power is brewing in his eyes. So, this is all part of your plan, Ikki. At this time, Madara suddenly spoke. Ikki, who was distracted for a while in front of a powerful enemy, was stunned. What? I can feel a power similar to mine in you, Ikki. Madara wiped his eyes. Wiped away the blood in the layer of eyeshadow. The domineering Madara seemed to be back. I can still feel the power of Hashirama in you. You hid it very well before, so I only discovered it now. You are very good, kid. Madara's tone suddenly became sarcastic. Forehead. Ikki scratched his head. He felt that Madara was nervous. He just cracked Orochimaru's code, and now it's Madara's turn. I didn't really, Ikki explained weakly. After all, the current Madara is quite pitiful. The Madara of the original time and space, he was beaten up by K in 6 paths mode, and when he was about to enter the ultimate mode, he was ripped out of his heart by Black Zetsu. The current Madara, he was beaten up by Ikki just after he was resurrected, and when he was about to get his eyes back, he was stolen by Orochimaru again. Out of humanitarianism, I felt sorry for Madara for a second. I want to know now, is this Hashirama's plan, or Tobirama's plan? Madara said in a playful tone, but Ikki heard self-mockery in it. It seems that these two brothers have seen through my plan a long time ago, so they used my tricks against me, and finally created a guy like you. Yingshu chose to shut up. He always felt that Madara's pause might be because he said something bad, but he had no evidence. What a seal. That is not a corpse. What a disciple of the third Hokage defected from Konoha. Come to think of it, the third Hokage of Konoha is also the disciple of that guy Tobirama, right? Very good. Madara clenched his fists, feeling the power that had already flowed out for most of the time, and then, the chakra suddenly rose, targeting Uchiha for generations, and at the same time setting a trap for me in secret. Hashirama, Tobirama. What a big deal. Madara went crazy. Warm reminder, in order to facilitate everyone's book selection, the ranking page of the website has been optimized. You can try it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.